West Point Lincoln and West Point Lincoln of Sugar Land Studios. KILT FM HD2 Houston. On Odyssey Sports Station. The Texans play here. Live from the West Point Lincoln and West Point Lincoln of Sugar Land Studios. It's Sports Radio 610 Weekends.
Got him! Astros have taken the first 2 games this weekend from the Rangers. They have won 5 in a row and 10 out of 11 and lead the AL West by a game and a half. The run continues, Blubber.
Not only have the Astros taken 2 in a row, or the last, honestly, 5 in a row, but the first 2 games of this series against the Texas Rangers, the Astros are 2 games above 500 for the first time in nearly 4 months.
Holla, holla.
In nearly 4 months since the beginning of April was the last time that their record looked this good. Wow. 2 games above 500. It is a good feeling. Welcome in to 610 Weekend. So glad to have y'all. Welcome in, Houston. Glad to be here with y'all. Brendan Scott here with Chris Partee. Chris, how are you feeling on this Sunday, man, knowing that the Astros are in this good of a spot?
I'm feeling real good. I was in here yesterday with Paul Gallant, and we were talking about it. And you know that's with last night's win. That's now 2 5-game winning streaks in less than 2 weeks.
Yeah,
for the Astros, they've won 10 out of 11 now.
5 in a row, 10 of their last 11. I mean,
this team they're looking like the best team in the I almost said the AFC, but in the American League right now.
Yeah, they might be the best team in the AFC too, depending on what the AFC look like.
You just never know.
We'll have to check in. I'm pretty sure Jordan. I'll tell you this. I take Jordan against anybody. You know what I'm saying?
You might be able to put him at tight end, man.
Hey, look.
Could do a little something.
Could put him at tight end, but we need Jordan to stay
healthy.
Put him
outside linebacker or something.
Hey, look, I'm sure he's capable. Tight end, outside linebacker. He might even be a good old school Mike linebacker, right?
Put him in the middle, huh?
I'm telling you, he could
bull rush.
He could probably do a lot, but I'll tell y'all, man, we are so glad to have Jordan in a fully healthy season. Him and Cam Smith are the only 2 players on this team that have played all but 2 games this season,
which is crazy.
And could you have imagined that? Look, the Astros are, again, 2 games above 500 for the first time since early April. They have the lead in the American League West. They are in a prime position as the trade deadline is right around the corner. It is literally tomorrow. Okay,
hours away.
Who would have guessed that Yordan Alvarez would be having a convincing AL MVP type of season, healthy as ever, having played only but 2 games, and kind of looks like an Iron Man out there. Like, if I had told you that a year ago, knowing the back and forth that we were doing with Jordan and the hand and the 60% healed while he's out there taking batting practice and all, just the circus that was.
Wouldn't have believed you.
You wouldn't have believed it.
No way at all would you have believed last year. Someone said, next season, Jordan's barely going to miss any games. Within the first 4 or 5 months of this year, he's barely going to miss any games. Nobody would have believed
it. Would have been out of sight. Like, you would have. I think last year you would have probably just penciled in Jordan to miss anywhere from 20 to 30 games.
Oh, easily.
Because it felt like that was what the trend was.
That's what we were looking at.
But that's not what we're looking at now.
No.
We got Jordan fully healthy. You've got an Astros team that is playing finally up to the standard of Astros baseball that we have held them to for more than a decade. And I'll be honest, man, for the first month or so of the season, it did not only were they not playing at that level, it didn't even look like they were capable of playing at that level, Chris. I'm going to be honest, man. I counted them out long ago just based off of how they were playing, based off of how the roster was constructed. I was unimpressed, underwhelmed by the roster overall. And then they just kind of piece it together. I'll tell you one thing I was way wrong about, and this is speaking to the story of yesterday, part of the story of yesterday, and just I would say not just part of the story yesterday, but part of the story as to why they've been able to turn things around this year. That bullpen, Chris,
man.
Matter of fact, I had Chandler Rome of The Athletic on my podcast, the B Block with B Scott. Y'all can check me out. Had him on the podcast early on in the season, and I just told him straight up, I was like, man, talk me off the ledge. This bullpen sucks. I said that straight. I was like, man, this bullpen sucks, right? And he, being the professional that he is, didn't want to say that.
Yeah, he didn't want to come right out and say, yeah, they suck.
But kind of wink and said it had its issues.
Yeah.
But lo and behold, man, the bullpen is one of the best in baseball since mid to late May, right around the time that the Astros started to turn things around. So I just want to acknowledge that real quick. Yeah. As one of the things that I was wrong about with the Astros was that the bullpen would be terrible. Actually, it turns out that the bullpen is one of the reasons why we can talk about the Astros in a credible way right now.
And it couldn't have come at a better time with all the issues they've had in the starting rotation.
Yes. They've asked a lot of them because of that.
A lot of them. And we're still saying, who's going to be that other ace behind Hunter Brown? And Hunter Brown was gone for a while with his injury issues, right?
Yeah.
He's just really getting back here not too long ago. So the bullpen has had to step up. And finally, over this, really since, coming back from the All-Star break in this last 10 out of 11 games that they've won, the bats are finally starting to click, it seems, at the same time.
Yeah.
Now, Jordan, he's been doing it all year. You'd have, other guys dip in here and there, have a game here or there. But now it seems, especially the last week or so, everybody, they're just clicking on all cylinders, it seems, offensively.
Yes.
Which is what waited on pretty much all season.
So I'm glad you mentioned that because I talked about the bullpen, which is a big part of yesterday, but so was another thing that has been a weakness of the Astros. And we talked about the trade deadline coming up tomorrow. This is one of the things that they are going to try to address in the trade deadline. It's offensive production from the outfield. They got that yesterday with Lamont Wade Jr. and Taylor Trammell, who's been on a tear as of late. So they got that. The bullpen that I mentioned before, 5 relievers combined to throw 4 1/3 innings of one-run baseball for the Astros. Of course, they secure a 5-4 win yesterday. But the big thing in that was, I thought going into the series that the big matchup for the Astros would be the pitching one because the Rangers were throwing out their best, right? They're throwing out Uvalde. Of course, yesterday was Jacob deGrom. They got their best guys going out there. And, the Astros are starting the series with Hunter Brown, but after that, it was like, okay, what's this going to look like?
What are we looking at?
And the first test of that was yesterday, Chris. The first test of that was last night with deGrom versus Ronel Blanco. And when I see them chase Jacob deGrom out of the game in the 4th inning, I'm like, all right, the Astros got this in the back.
Feeling good about that.
I can breathe a little easily, or at least easier than I was before. So the game starts around, in the 6 o'clock hour. This happens around shortly after 7:30, right? And I'm taking a walk around the neighborhood, watching the game. I got it Bluetooth with the AirPods on, watching the game, and it's 7:30. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be a good night. This is going to be an easy night now. They've chased Jacob deGrom out of here in the 4th inning.
Quick, fast, in a hurry.
Credit to the Rangers bullpen. They come out there and handle business, right?
They kept them in it.
They
definitely kept them in it.
Of course, Ronel Blanco also gets chased relatively early in the game. But then the Astros bullpen comes in there and matches and does this thing. And like I mentioned, 4 1/3 innings of one-run baseball from a bullpen. Honestly, Chris, I did not have high hopes for or have a lot of belief in. We understand that the bullpen is the most volatile part of baseball, and so relievers are volatile.
Yeah,
the relievers for the Astros have been nails. They were nails last night, and I mentioned again the outfield production. How about that, right? You get Lamont Wade Jr. and Taylor Trammell. And that's 2 of the Astros left-handed hitting outfielders, the exact thing that they're going to try to target at the trade deadline.
That's where they need production from.
These guys stepped up for them. Now, I'm not saying that they need to just rely on Taylor Trammell and Lamont Wade Jr. for the rest of the year.
But it's good to see.
We're good.
But it's good to see.
It's just good to see contributions all the way around, right? So they drive in they drive in 3 of the 5 runs that we're talking about last night. And so to me, that's just key when you look at the Astros. It's not like it's just Jordan. They're not here without Jordan's MVP performance.
No.
Of course, he has been carrying them for the bulk of the season. But what we've seen from them as of late, Chris, has really been just an overall team effort.
Oh, yeah.
Guys at the bottom of the lineup stepping up. The bullpen, again, who's been asked to do a lot given how honestly volatile the starting pitching situation has been. We've seen a bullpen really step up.
And you know, going back to Jordan carrying the team, that's great. You know, and you can do that through parts of the regular season. But if we really think this team is back on track to actually be, let's just say it, a real contender in the American League, it's got to be a team effort offensively. Really all around, but especially offensively. It can't just be one guy carrying you with his bat. You know, he can only bat so many times each game, right? Yeah. He can only come up, 3, 4, maybe 5 times in the game if you're lucky up to the plate. So it's got to be a team effort here. And recently they have been able to get those bats popping collectively as a team, which is what you're going to need. Now, B. Scott, let me ask you this real quick.
Yeah.
So obviously early in the season, and no one can blame you because most people here in town had pretty much said, okay, this is not our year. If you go back to April, May, even, early June.
Yeah.
Go back then, this is probably not our year.
Yeah, I was definitely one of those people.
But seeing how things have turned around, how are you feeling now? Do you really think they're back to where you're ready to consider them as a true World Series contender again? Are they back there? Do you need to see a little more? Because let's just be honest. We got about 2 months still left to the season.
Yeah.
There's still some time left.
I'm glad that you posed this question because I do want to tell the Astros fan base out there, don't let the Tarek Skubal trade to the Dodgers last night, which happened. Man, the Dodgers lose. I was actually watching that game because my girlfriend's a Dodgers fan. They lose 3-2, I believe, last night to the Boston Red Sox.
Yep.
No less than an hour later, we get the news that Tarek Skubal is being traded from the Detroit Tigers to the Los Angeles Dodgers. And we'll get more into the trade deadline as the show goes on. And by the way, Seth Payne is going to join us to talk about Texans training camp at 1:20. So make sure you stay tuned for that. 12:20, actually in about 10 minutes, we're going to talk a little Texans training camp as well. But I want to tell the Astros fans not to let the Tarek Skubal trade have you all doom and gloom.
Yeah.
It does feel like every other team in Major League Baseball is playing for second place to the Dodgers in some form or fashion.
It does feel like
if you're in the National League, it feels like you're playing for just an opportunity to lose to them in the NLCS. And if you're in the American League, it feels like you're playing for that pennant, but ultimately an opportunity to lose to the Dodgers in the World Series. But I will say this, and if I'm just being realistic, that does look like it's the case. And it's a big reason why we're at this crossroads in baseball where it looks like we probably won't have a season in 2027.
Yeah.
But as it pertains to right now, I'm actually okay with fighting for a pennant. I actually, even as an Astros fan, can live with the idea of the Astros making a run in the American League. And if they lose to the Los Angeles All-Star Dodgers, like this.
They are an all-star team.
This superstar team that they put together. This team that is the antidote to why owners across the sport want a salary cap. And we're not going to see baseball next year. I'm okay with that. I can live with them making a run or at least being respectable and losing to the Dodgers in the World Series. But I do want to kind of keep stay in the moment and keep my eye on the prize.
Of course.
I'm having fun watching my baseball team.
I get it.
Early in the season, Chris, it almost felt like, and you never want this to be the case as a sports fan, it's not supposed to feel like a chore or like homework. We do this as a job, as for work.
Yeah.
But that part of it, watching the game, is not supposed to feel like work.
I gotta watch the Astros tonight.
For a stretch, man, it was starting to feel like that. For a stretch there, it was starting to feel like that for the Astros.
It wasn't fun early on.
I am back to turning on an Astros game with genuine, authentic joy, watching the team. And I think that Astros fans need to hold on to that, need to cling to that. And let's just go along for this ride here. You got Jordan playing at an MVP level, one of the best offensive seasons that we've probably ever seen, unless you can remember, and a lot of our audience can remember Jeff Bagwell's '94 season right before down again. That's the only thing really comparable for me as a Houston sports fan, as an Astros fan.
Yeah.
So we haven't seen that in over 30 years.
It's a long time.
It's kind of like a once-in-a-lifetime type of season that Jordan is having.
Yeah.
How about Jeremy Pena as well, especially when he's healthy? He's on like a 13-game on-base streak or something crazy like that. Like, he's really doing his thing, okay? And then the pitching has stepped up despite all of the injuries and all of the mishaps that we've seen throughout the season. They've stepped up. Go along for this ride and see how far the Astros can take it. I'll say this about the American League, and you tell me if you think different. I don't look around this American League and see nan team. I'm gonna use this term that my grandmother would have used. I don't see nan team that scares me in the American League, and to the point of like the Dodgers. Yeah, maybe you're not necessarily as talented or good enough, but it is baseball, the type of game where we've seen stranger things happen. So the way I look at it is this team is just as good as any in the American League, has been just as good as any in the American League for the last a couple of months or so. Outside of the Boston Red Sox, who beat the Dodgers last night, there has not been a better team in the American League than the Astros for this stretch here. And so I'm willing to see, even though I'm not picking to win the World Series, or I wouldn't pick them against the Dodgers in a series, I am here for the ride, and they have at least given us enough to be entertained, to be engaged. And, hey, man, let's go for broke. Like, there's not going to be a season next year possibly.
That's what it's looking like.
You could be, and I think I said this with Sean Pendergast when I was in with him either last week or the week before. Why not be the last American League champion? Why not be the last team
before baseball shuts
to
down?
win the pennant before baseball shuts down? I am into and here for this part of the narrative, Chris.
In terms of the question you posed there of, who in the American League are you worried about? I mean, I'm looking at it here, and I've been looking at it earlier, all morning.
You got the Rays and the White Sox leading the other two divisions. Yeah,
as much as I want to say the White Sox, I can't. No one expected them to be here, and no one really. They're going to have to do something in the postseason for people to become believers.
The White Sox
that's what it comes down to.
The White Sox need more people.
Yeah,
they need more. Not more people on their team. They need more witnesses. They need more people to stand for them, because the rest of us are looking around like ain't no way.
Like Jay-Z once said, "We don't believe you. You need more people." All right. So White Sox, unfortunately, out of the conversation. If you're not worried about the Rays, then I don't really see another team, possibly the Yankees, but no. Other than that, I don't really see another team that, based on what we've seen really, I guess, the last, 6 weeks or so?
Yeah.
From the Astros. If they can continue that.
Yeah.
There's really not another team that you're too worried about right now as it stands. Especially if they can get another starting pitcher in that rotation.
Yes.
Now,
we don't even know who their fifth starter is right now, because they put Tatsu. That's another thing, Chris.
Yeah. I know where you're going now.
Their marquee signings and or moves / acquisitions of the offseason have not panned out for them.
Nothing.
They have not panned out for them. Mike Burrows was a disaster. Tatsuya Imai now in the bullpen.
It has not worked out.
Right? Like these were supposed to be the key moves that they made, and they have not worked out. And the Astros still, in spite of that, are in this position.
Now, I know someone is saying at home right now or in their car, what about Lambert? He has played well. Yeah, he's given them something.
Got to give him credit. That's found money, though.
Exactly. We don't know. When we're talking really about who you're going to trust outside of Hunter Brown in the postseason.
Right.
We don't know if we can get that yet from Lambert. We don't know for sure yet.
So these other two teams that are leading their divisions in the American League that we mentioned, the White Sox and the Tampa Bay Rays. In the last several weeks or so, we have seen the Astros take care of business against both teams. Yeah. Okay, so I want to point that out. The other two teams in the American League that should feel like they're in the mix leading their division have recently been owned by the Astros. Also, let me throw another stat out to you before we go to break. There's only one other team in the American League, a winning record against other teams with winning records. Ooh. So your record against teams above 500. I'm sorry, let me say it again. Your record against teams above 500. Yeah. The only team in the American League with a positive or with a winning record against teams with winning records are the Astros and the Rays. No other team in the American League has that. There you go. So I think that is a stat that can tell you a lot about who the Astros are and where they sit in the American League landscape. It's a good feeling. It's a good feeling being here with y'all on a Sunday, man, doing 610 weekends again. That's Chris Partee. I'm Brandon Scott here with you. Y'all can get involved. I'm going to be honest with you. That text line, though nobody here in the studio got access to it. So if you send a text,
we're struggling right now.
Consider it a love letter to Payne and Pendergast in the morning. They will be able to see it. But if you really want to get involved in the show, check us out on YouTube, 95.7 The Fan on YouTube, 95.7 The Fan as well on Twitch. You can get active in those chat rooms. We're going to talk about training camp coming up next. I've got a few training camp thoughts. I was out there yesterday braving the heat. I got a little bit of a plot twist to watch out for with the Texans. We'll talk about that on the other side right here on 610 Weekends.
The Astros are inevitable.
What kind of impact does D'Amico expect new Texans running back David Montgomery to make this season?
We know it's no secret that we needed to improve our running game. Since I've been here, it
detergent.
Live from the West Point Lincoln and West Point Lincoln of Sugarland Studios, it's Sports Radio 610 Weekends.
Brandon Scott and Chris Partee rolling along with you on a Sunday, 610 Weekends. So good to be back in studio on the weekends. It's such a good feeling.
It's just lovely.
Man, I know the audience appreciates it, but we appreciate it too. I ain't gonna lie, I appreciate it because I get to walk in here with my slides on and not really think much about it because it's no more than 7 people in the building.
I don't know if it's that many people in the building.
I'm just gonna say it's 3 people in here. There's 1 person working downstairs. Security. Gotta figure there's somebody like working on like lights or construction. There's always somebody doing like an odd job. So I just gave it
just estimated.
Just gave it 7. But it's 7 or less.
You're probably pretty close, to be honest.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel like it could be more than 8.
No.
You know what I mean?
If it was a Saturday, I could see maybe about 20, but no, it probably
not on a Sunday.
Yeah. Everybody just getting out of church for the last half hour. They're all going to lunch, probably a Roadhouse or something. So
I didn't even think about that.
Old Roadhouse, huh?
Yep. I love me some Roadhouse.
I was about to say, you like you some Roadhouse, huh, Jordan?
Chicken fried chicken with some seasoned rice and a cup of chili. That's my order every time.
Cup of chili, too, huh? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Don't get me hungry, man. We'll mess around. 3 o'clock hit. We'll be out of here at 3 o'clock on the dot.
Right.
But our order, we'll place our order during a break, and we will pull up at that thing.
Oh, man.
For sure. But another cool thing that we did this weekend, or that we got to participate in this weekend, was Texans training camp. And look, I'm not as used to working on a Saturday and a Sunday as I have.
It's different.
And as I did this weekend. But this was fun, man.
It's different.
Being out there on the grass. And yesterday, what was cool about yesterday, y'all talked about this a little bit, you and Paul Gallant, when y'all did 610 Weekends on Saturday. And he was out there as well.
He was, yeah.
The fans were out there for the first time.
Yeah, I guess it was the first day yesterday.
It was the first day them hosting fans. They're going to do that again this up and coming week. And so it just had a different kind of feel and energy to it. Like, we're out there the day before, and in the days before, no fans out there. And we're still glad to be there. But there's something about the fans, the players' family, the players and coaches' families are out there. They're taking pictures on the field after practice. And it's just a really cool community football type of feel. But we're out there trying to take care of business as well, trying to see what exactly this team is going to look like. And I felt like they saved a little bit on Friday because they practiced indoor on Friday with kind of like a glorified walkthrough. They got after it a little bit yesterday. Ooh. Now, mind you, pads have not come on yet. That's going to happen this upcoming week. But they saved some energy for yesterday and actually did some team drills in front of the fans that people could see, really kind of get their first public look at the team. So public, I'll point this out, and this is not a shot Texans PR, just so y'all know.
Just throw that out there, disclaimer.
But there is a stretch there where they make the media put their cameras down, but they don't do that with the fans, with the paying customers who actually didn't pay to go to training camp, but it's all good. So a lot of the videos that y'all saw from yesterday, action videos that you saw from yesterday, actually came from fans and people in the stands and not from the credentialed media that was out there. Yeah. And so I want to point out, because I saw this, a lot of the videos that I saw were really cool, positive plays for the offense. And I don't want to pretend like you do want to see that. And I don't want to pretend like we didn't see that. Like, there were plenty of moments where that was the case. But for the majority of the practice, I would say this was advantage defense. That probably doesn't surprise anybody given what the defense is.
That's what Paul said yesterday. Yeah.
But that is, to me, it stood out just how good the defense is and how the offense, Chris, still has a ways to go. To me, it was on full display on Saturday at the practice, man.
And I don't think anyone is shocked at you saying that the defense, even though there may have been instances where the offense did very well, but the defense had more of the advantage. Who's really shocked at that?
Right.
Look at this defense from really the last couple of years. Yeah. Look at this defense.
Yeah.
No one's shocked at that. Yes, we know the offense. We've talked about this all offseason. The offense has work to do.
It does.
Now, I'm not saying that they're going to catch all the way up to the level of the defense, but they got some catching up to do in terms of even being an overall average or above average offense. So yeah, of course they got some work to do. But those little glimmers, those little moments where you see a guy make a great catch or you see CJ make a great read, and sometimes it's not even the pass you make, it's the pass you don't make.
Right.
You see little moments like that.
Yeah.
Those are the things that give you a little bit of, and again, yeah, it's early in training camp. We understand that. It is still early, but just seeing those little moments, it gives you, a lot more hope for the offense.
Chris, man, I cannot wait to see how this thing is going to shake out once the pads come on.
Oh, of course.
Because I want to see, not only do I want to see them compete in actual football setting because we understand football is played with pads on.
Exactly.
But like how that's going to impact the way the team ends up looking in the long run. Because I want to say this about Saturday's practice. The offense was not great. It had its moments. It wasn't good. But C.J. Stroud wasn't the problem. And C.J. Stroud is the story of the offseason, of the season, and really up until we get to the point of the postseason where things have ended for the Texans each and every time that they've gone to the postseason, and particularly in this era with DeMeco Ryans and C.J. Stroud. The problem yesterday, man, it was the same thing that's been holding the Texans back for as long as I can remember for this entire time.
Of course.
It's that offensive line. That offensive line, man.
I knew that was coming.
They got worked by the defensive line, and we already laid it out. It's a world-class defensive line. They got 2 all-pros on the edges. And the guys on the inside are all like just workhorses.
They ain't no slouch.
I'm talking about.
They ain't slouching.
I'm talking about lunch pail, hard hat, blue collar type of guys.
They gonna bring it.
Every single one of them. And so it was the same thing that I can remember for a long time, and it's been the offensive line. They got worked, and that's with the fans out there for the first time. But I saw all of these guys making plays. Of course, Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. are making plays, right? Both of them are just like a blur off the line. Ball snaps, it looks like. I'm trying to remember who was saying this. I think it was David Montgomery when he talked to the media last week, that when he's watched in the past, and I think they did a joint practice with the Lions a couple of years back, where David Montgomery watches and thinks, man, that dude is jumping off sides. He's got to be jumping off sides.
But he's not.
He ain't. He ain't. He's just that quick off the line. And, man, I will not forget this. There was a play. This was early on in team. So this wasn't the full-on team drill, but this was like an earlier team drill where they got Will lined up on the right side over Trent Brown on this particular rep. And it felt like bullying. Like Trent Brown's way older than Will Anderson and way bigger than Will Anderson. Yeah. And so, it felt like reverse bullying, because usually it's the older, bigger person that's doing the bullying.
Exactly.
But it just wasn't a fair fight. And this is not a knock on Trent Brown, who's done some amazing things in the league and was great for them last year. But that just goes to show you, like, man, one thing is just not like the other. So we see Daniil making plays. We see Will making plays. Even on the inside, Sheldon Rankins, on the inside, the old veteran, dependable veteran out there making the OG. Caden McDonald out there making plays. And, of course, a fan favorite, Tommy Togiai. All of these guys blowing up plays at the line of scrimmage before they could really get started or truly get developed. That was one of, like if it's your team out there, with every negative is a positive and vice versa.
Of course.
With all the negative of the offensive line, the positive was, hey, we know what we got on the edges. These guys that they're going to rotate on the inside between Sheldon Rankins, Tommy Togiai, and we'll see what role Caden McDonald ultimately ends up playing for this team. All of them are going to have a role, but it's going to be as disruptors, attackers, and I can't wait to see that play out, not just in training camp, but obviously once we get into the season.
Yeah, and I mean, just like I said, we know what to expect from this defense. Obviously you want to see it. You want to see what guys look like after the long layoff of the offseason coming into training camp. But again, getting back to the offensive side of the ball and the offensive line, it's not maybe there's a little bit of surprise, looking at the changes that were made along the offensive line in the offseason.
Yes, because they made quite a few.
To see them, be dominated just, right out the gate like that. But again, like you said, we're talking about a world-class, not just defense, but defensive line. The whole defense, yes, but the defensive line. We're talking about a world-class defensive line from, outside to in, right?
Yeah.
So it's not surprising, but it's going to be critical to look over the next week to see the improvement that offensive line makes and the adjustments that they make offensively with the offensive line, who they move around, where Keelan Rutledge, where he's playing, whether it's middle, guards, whatever it may be.
Yeah, and I think we're going to get a truer depiction of what that looks like once these pads come on. I think
so too.
What I saw yesterday is not the best prelude for this upcoming week when the pads do come on, but I'm glad you mentioned Keelan Rutledge because I teased coming into this segment that I've got a potential plot twist for the Texans season, and it involves Keelan Rutledge. All of us are looking to see if and when Keelan Rutledge is going to take that starting center spot by the reins and really own it.
And make it his, yeah.
Because the moves that you mentioned in the offseason, center is where Keelan Rutledge most logically slots to address what the Texans' specific needs were. Now, of course, he played right guard in college, so that's where he made his name, but the Texans brought back their right guard in Ed Ingram, signed him to a contract to bring him back, and they signed Wyatt Teller, who was once an all-pro in this league, to be their left guard. And he also played right guard in the past, but he's going to move over to the left side. Yeah. The plot twist that I want y'all to watch out for is Keelan Rutledge potentially playing one of those guard spots. That's the plot. That's the plot twist. Keelan Rutledge potentially taking one of the guard spots rather than the centers. Now, we all know that the Texans like to cross-train. They like to bring guys or move guys around, move them around in different spots.
They want guys that are versatile.
Exactly.
They're not just going to be stuck in one place and can only play one position on that line.
So it should not be surprising. It should not be revealing to you that Keelan Rutledge has been cross-training, that he's played multiple positions. But I want to point out, man, Jake Andrews, the incumbent starting center, is out there fighting for his life.
He should be.
He's out there clearly fighting for his job. He knows that his potential replacement has been drafted and potentially sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
I look at yesterday, and a couple of the guys on the offensive line, I will single out one, and I hate to do it, but Ed Ingram did not have his best day of practice. Now, mind you, pads are not on.
Yeah.
We're very early on in training camp. This is not to say that bringing back Ed Ingram was some kind of mistake. I'm not suggesting that. But I am saying that training camp is a place for one player to outshine the next.
Oh, yeah.
Or for a guy to take your job or for you to get your job taken. Am I right?
If you're one of those guys who doesn't have that position locked up, like a Will Anderson, right? Or a lot of the guys on defense, you're competing in training camp.
Yeah.
A lot of guys on this offense are competing for spots in training camp. They really are, especially on the offensive line.
And I think the assumption for a lot of people is, since they brought Ed Ingram back and he was one of their few decent offensive linemen last year, he must be one of those guys, one of the few guys that does have that starting spot locked up. We figured that the guys who had offensive line spots locked up were the left tackle going into his second season, Ariante Ursary, and the right guard who they brought back in free agency in Ed Ingram. Everything else was potentially up for grabs. Of course, they signed Wyatt Teller, so that makes sense for him to slot in. But those are the jobs that would be locked up. Need I point out that the offensive line, no matter who they brought back, just was flat out not that good last year. And so even with Ingram getting that contract, that to me does not guarantee him that spot. And if you got a guy that can come in and be instantly better, here's what I'm saying. If Keelan Rutledge comes in and is instantly better at right guard than Ed Ingram is at right guard, but he's not instantly better at center than Jake Andrews is at center, Keelan Rutledge could be your right guard.
He might be.
If he comes in and he's instantly better at left guard than Wyatt Teller, but not instantly better at center than Jake Andrews,
that only makes sense.
He could be your left guard.
That only makes sense.
And those are things I think they're not as conceivable for most folks because of those name brands that we already like. Wyatt Teller again, an All-Pro, a former All-Pro. Ed Ingram, an incumbent, was on the team last year, brought back on a new deal. So you think that those guys got those spots locked up. Jake Andrews is just kind of a, he's almost borderline a rookie last year. But I would just caution you and say everything ain't exactly what it seems. It could very well turn out to be that it's Teller, Rutledge, Ingram on that interior. But a plot twist to look out for, and this is especially when the pads come on, where do they have Keelan Rutledge lined up? Where is he playing at? And how well is he playing relative to the guy that you would expect to be in the spot above him? So those are just some thoughts to kind of think about, ponder over as we get through Texans training camp. He is Chris Partee. I am Brandon Scott. We are doing 6 weekends on a Sunday, and we're going to have a little bit of fun throughout the day, throughout this throughout the show. We're on with you until 3 o'clock. Make sure you get involved, 95.7 The Fan on YouTube and on Twitch. And coming up next, I got to get Chris's thoughts on LeBron James to Philly. Woo! But we're going to do that after we hear from Kevin Durant, because Kevin Durant has weighed in on LeBron James going to the Sixers. We're going to hear from him on the other side right here on 16 Weekends.
Reset your presets.
Initialize sequence.
And
SportsRadio. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
I'm Kevin Durant.
Live from the West Point Lincoln and West Point Lincoln of Sugarland Studios, it's Sports Radio 610 Weekends.
Kevin Durant has weighed in on LeBron James to Philly. Brandon Scott and Chris Partee here with you on a 610 weekend on a Sunday. Glad to do it.
Feeling good, too.
I think all of us have had an opportunity at this point to weigh in either publicly or privately because it's been long enough to give our thoughts on LeBron James switching teams again, going to the Philadelphia 76ers and joining what can credibly be called a super team. If you look at him, Joel Embiid, Jaylen Brown, and of course Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah, you got Tyrese Maxey still.
I mean, it is a who's who now, and that's not even to mention VJ Edgecombe, who was one of the better rookies in basketball last year.
That's right.
So they got a really, really decent squad, to say the least. And Kevin Durant, Rockets star Kevin Durant, that is, was recently asked. He was at a USA basketball event over the weekend. I believe this was Saturday. So just yesterday, he was asked about, and I think this is the first time he was interviewed publicly, asked about what he thought with LeBron James going to Philly. Are they a contender? What's he think about that squad? This is what he had to say.
Feel like they're contenders?
Sure. I mean, you don't think so?
No, I'm just asking you.
Last time they put 3 20-point scores on the team, they said it was unfair, which is the team I was on. Yeah. They got 4 25-point scores on this team. So hell yeah, I think they're going to be a contender. They're a great team to watch.
Yeah, so
hell yeah, he think they're gonna be a contender.
I think he speaks for a lot of people looking at the Sixers and what they got going. The interesting part about that quote or that sound that we just played, and the part that's been making the rounds across social media and just in the online space, is the Warriors comparison. Yeah. Which is where I thought you would be good to bring in on this, Chris Partee, as a Bay Area native yourself. So I'm sure you're very familiar with that Warriors run, Kevin Durant's time there. What do you think about that comparison? Like, obviously LeBron is much older now, far past his prime, compared to either KD or Steph in that phase of their career when they joined forces in the Bay. But what do you think about that comparison in terms of just like a star being added to a team that was already pretty good, already having existing stars on it, and kind of putting all of that together? What did you think about the comparison?
In terms of star value or putting a group of, I guess you could say, stars to a certain extent together, I get the comparison. But when you really drill down and look at that Warriors team, you just mentioned it. For one, LeBron is, 42?
Yeah.
41. He will be 42.
He'll be 42 in December.
Then you got Joel Embiid. Jaylen Brown is the one. Jaylen Brown and Tyrese Maxey are the ones, really, for me, that kind of make that thing go with adding LeBron. But
they're the sub 30 stars.
Exactly.
They're the stars who are not 30 years old yet.
But it's a little different because if you look at that Warriors team, KD, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
Also, you had Draymond Green, but the big three there, they were all lethal shooters in an era where the three-point shot was becoming a lot more a bigger part of the game.
Yeah, they helped it become that way.
And they helped it become that, right? Steph Curry had started that, but then when you add KD, you had 3 guys that could give you 40+% for a full season shooting from 3.
Yes.
It is hard to beat that. Especially
at that volume too.
Yes, it is hard to beat a team like that. So this team is not going to be that, but it's going to be a little different because then also what the Warriors didn't have was a dominant big man. When Joel Embiid, I talk about it all the time how he misses so much time.
Yeah.
But when he is healthy, he's one of the best big men, dominant big men that we've seen in a very long time. But for me, that's the question is what's going to happen when Joel Embiid only plays maybe 35 or 40 games?
Yeah.
What's going to happen then with that team when he's out for, just huge chunks, if he is, of the season? Because that's what we've seen from him.
Yeah. I think that the Jaylen Brown trade, which clearly helped facilitate the LeBron James signing.
Of course.
The Jaylen Brown trade was supposed to be the thing that Embiid proofs them in that way, right? That's supposed to be the thing that protects them from the Embiid part of it that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because Jaylen Brown is known to be an Iron Man.
He don't miss much time.
Most games, right? He'll play through injury, doesn't get injured a lot to begin with, and plays through some things, right? So there's that piece. And then, of course, LeBron James, who, as we know, is 200 years old, but at the same time is also an Iron Man, is known for that. So, like, I think those are supposed to be the ways around that piece of it. But, man, like, I look at it like we're talking about, think about it like this. The Sixers now have 2 season MVPs in Joel Embiid and LeBron James, albeit not the MVP level LeBron James that he was, still really damn good.
Still a very good player.
So you got Embiid and LeBron as your 2 regular season MVPs. Yeah. You got 2 finals MVPs in LeBron and Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
And we've done this exercise now without even mentioning who you talked about earlier, Tyrese Maxey, who has none of those things, but is arguably the franchise player.
And I believe he averaged 25 last year.
Come on.
Like Tyrese Maxey has
shown that he's fully capable of doing some of those similar things that these other guys have already done.
And has proved that he's capable of running a team as the primary guard. Now, I'm not saying he's going to do that all the time, especially with a guy like LeBron who usually wants the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
But Tyrese Maxey has proven that he can be that primary guard to run an offense, right?
Yeah.
He's proven that. And then also, I got their depth chart up here. They got some guys all coming off the bench that ain't no slouches either. You got a guy like Anthony Simons. Who used to play in Portland. Like he's pretty good.
He would potentially start on last year's Rockets.
Possibly.
And he would definitely play for any of the Rockets teams that we're talking about.
And he can start for a lot of other teams in this league.
Yeah,
he definitely can start for a lot of other teams in this league.
He literally helped the Celtics stay afloat last year while Jason Tatum was out. And it was only because Jason Tatum came back way sooner than anybody was expecting that they ended up having to get rid of Anthony Simons. Otherwise, he probably would have still been on that team.
Exactly. And then you got a guy who's a veteran now, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope.
Oh, yeah, that's a LeBron special right there.
Of course.
That's a LeBron, Rich Paul.
He can still give you a little bit,
Get down with the clutch gang. Oh, no, he can play.
He's still going to give you a little bit. And like you mentioned earlier, a recent rookie, VJ Edgecombe.
Yeah.
He's still developing.
Bro,
he's still developing.
Let me tell you, when they came to Houston last season, the Sixers that is, we watched VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey move with the basketball potentially unlike anybody else in the league. Like, I don't think that there is a pairing that is faster with the basketball in their hand than those 2 guys in the NBA. And that's before we even get to the front court of LeBron, Jaylen Brown,
that's before you
and Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
So that part is nasty. Let me ask you this. That was KD that we heard from.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So to bring it back to the Rockets real quick, KD in his own right has been involved, at least his name, I should say, has been mentioned in trade rumors, trade discussion. It seems like it's really been that way for him ever since he left the Bay, honestly, or ever since things since things started to go south in Brooklyn, right? After COVID happens, the toe on the line thing in 2021, I believe it was.
Milwaukee.
Yeah. So after all of that, it basically seems like he's been a part of trade rumors for the better part of the last 5 years or so.
It does, yeah.
Throw this to you real quick. Does Kevin Durant end the season? I'm talking about this upcoming 2026-2027 NBA season. Does he end it in a Rockets uniform?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's an easy yes for me.
Okay.
I do not see the Rockets moving away unless there's just a deal that comes across, Raphael Stone's desk that is just a can't miss. You just cannot pass this deal up. And I can't really think of that deal right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Maybe you can think of a player, but I just can't think of that deal right now. So it's an easy yes for me.
So it's not a player per se. It's a circumstance. It's a condition. Okay. And we were doing this on the Rockets Collective, another podcast that I do. Y'all can consider this just B. Scott plugging his extra podcast that he does.
Do it.
But I've been working, man. And me and LaShard Binkley of SB Nation were talking about this just yesterday of like, who are the players that could get traded in season if it were to happen? And we both came to the conclusion that it was more likely scenario based. Like, where are the Rockets at that given time
in February or late January.
Sure,
what have you. Yeah.
Sure. As the trade deadline approaches,
I get that.
And worst case scenario, even before that, if they're not any good, like they start making business decisions very early on. But the only scenario where I could see it is if the Rockets somehow, instead of taking that step forward, or at the very least just staying afloat as to like where they were and where they have been over the last couple of years, they take a step back. If they start looking like a play-in team, because mind you, teams have improved around the league, Western Conference included. Like, there are teams that are going to look different. The league is going to look different next year. We'll see where the Rockets kind of fall into that overall landscape. But if you get out the gates and you're starting to look like a middling team, you're kind of just stuck in the mud. You're a 7th, 8th, 9th seed, looking like you're going to be a play-in team or a low seed. You could see them selling on their high-end talent and kind of just blowing this thing up. And I hate to say it, Rockets fans, probably starting all over with this whole rebuild thing.
For me, that's not even an option. Unless, like you just said, the bottom just completely falls out. But no, you got Fred VanVleet, who's supposed to be back and ready this season.
What if he's not ready, though? Like, what if he's there but not there? If you know what I mean? Like, if he's washed or cooked.
He may not be the old Fred VanVleet, but I don't expect him to be washed.
Okay.
I just don't. I just don't see that being a scenario. Now, I'm not saying they'll be, in first or second place in the West, by January, but they'll be in the mix. I just can see them being in the mix, yeah.
He's Chris Barty. I'm Brandon Scott. This is 610 Weekends. Coming up in the 1 o'clock hour, we got to talk about this MLB trade deadline. Seth Payne is going to join us at 1:20. All of that is next right here on 610.
Y'all know who I am.
Coach D'Amico shared his thoughts after day 1 of Texans training camp.
But when I look
West Point Liggett of Sugar Land Studios, KILT FM HD2 Houston. On Odyssey Sports Station, the Texans play here. Live from the West Point Lincoln and West Point Lincoln of Sugar Land Studios, it's Sports Radio 610 Weekends.
Brandon Scott, Chris Party, Jordan Smith, too, by the way, behind the glass. Went a whole hour in the show. Y'all heard from Jordan, and I didn't do a good enough job of shouting him out. But all three of us are up here putting in this work on a Sunday.
Making it happen, baby.
Bringing you 610 weekends, doing our thing.
Man, it's lovely, man. It's just, it feels so good to be up here on the weekend.
Yeah.
And for one thing, it's so quiet in here on the weekend.
I love it.
It's like, we really, like you said earlier, there may be 7 people in the building.
Man.
Not on our floor, but in the building.
We definitely got the floor to ourselves.
Right now, yeah.
Yeah, like we got the floor to ourselves. Yeah. It is a very comfortable space, comfortable living.
We in here hanging out.
And it seems like the audience as well has a pretty, I would say, pretty healthy appetite for this.
Oh, they've been waiting for weekends to come back.
It's a long time coming. We used to do this way back in the Gap.
That's what I've been told.
And it's just been a while. So we're glad to be here, man. And today is a especially good day to be here because it's the day before the trade deadline. Mm-hmm. And look, our weekday programming is going to get you ready and keep you updated on all of the news that's happening tomorrow with the MLB trade deadline. So make sure y'all are locked in from 6A to 6P and even past that with Area 45, the night show. But I wanted to get your thoughts on a couple of news items as it pertains to the trade deadline, as it approaches. And we can also kind of look ahead a little bit and think about what the Astros' needs are, especially given where they are right now, this special time, them having won 10 out of 11 games. Of course, they win last night 5-4 against the Rangers. So they take that series. They're going to look to try to sweep within, really, honestly, they're going to start in the next 10 or 15 minutes or so.
Getting going again.
So, and it's a Peter Lambert day. Going to try to make things happen here. But some trade deadline news that was interesting. Of course, we talked about this earlier. Tarek Skubal.
Man.
Going to the Dodgers.
Oh, man.
I'm curious from you, and again, as a Bay Area guy, and I don't know if you were an A's or how you grew up necessarily as a baseball fan, but like the Dodgers, I know at least in San Francisco are one of like the public enemy number one type of thing.
They the devil.
They hate the Dodgers.
They the devil. Oh yeah.
And of course, with the Tarek Skubal trade, I think everybody probably is looking at the Dodgers like, man, really? Like, this is what y'all are really on? This is what y'all are really about? They go out and get Tarek Skubal to add to an already star-studded roster. Now, they've got their version of, like, rich people problems, their version of pitching issues. I don't think Ohtani's pitching right now.
No.
And so Tyler Glass now is like their 5th starter. This is an embarrassment of riches. Can we just point this out? An embarrassment of riches
more than
that the Dodgers have right now. But when you saw that news last night, and now that you've had a little bit of time to think on it, what do you think about the Dodgers making this trade deadline move, or this move a couple of days ahead of the trade deadline to get the prized possession, the prized piece, if you want to call it personal possession, but y'all get it. The prized piece in Tarek Skubal, the guy that I think everybody or anybody would have wanted to add to their team.
Any team that was looking for starting pitching that actually had, a decent amount of prospects, current big league players, draft picks, whatever it may be, to send to Detroit for Skubal.
Yeah.
They were all disappointed by this. Everyone. And the fact that he went to the Dodgers. Of any team, maybe outside of the Yankees, but even in, of any team.
Yeah.
Everyone was wishing he would have gone somewhere else than the Dodgers because, like you just said, it's the rich getting richer. That's all it is. And, to go to my Bay Area ties back at home, Giants fans hated the Dodgers before this. They just going to hate them even more now.
Yeah.
That's not going to change. And the Giants aren't in a position to really compete right now anyway.
Right.
So whether they got Skubal or not, it really wasn't going to matter to the Giants in terms of head-to-head with the Dodgers or even competing for that division anymore.
Yeah.
They're just not.
The thing, though, with the Tarek Skubal trade that is really fat. It's in specifically him going to the Dodgers, not just him getting traded because he was obviously going to get traded.
Yeah, we knew that was coming.
But it's kind of a two-part thing, though, because this is the perfect antidote to why we are where we are with Major League Baseball to begin with. Right? It's the fact that, again, it's two-part. So it's both sides of this thing. It's the fact that teams like the Tigers, for whatever reason, don't feel like they can afford to re-sign their own homegrown talent
long term.
Yeah. Unless they convince them to sign on like a discount of some sort, which the Astros have been successful in doing with a handful of players, like Jose Altuve over the years, like Yordan Alvarez right now. They've got some examples of this, but the issue is that if a player knows he's good, and Terry Skubal is arguably the best pitcher in the game.
Believe me, he knows.
When you're that level of player, you know that you are not served by no kind of discount.
No.
You are best served out there on the open market.
You got to get it while you can.
And whether it's just the Dodgers or if it's only like the Dodgers, Yankees, Mets, and let's maybe throw the Cubs in there.
It's a handful of teams.
Phillies in there, somebody like that that is going to spend that kind of money.
Handful.
That's who you're going to go play for.
Exactly.
Because that's who's paying, right? And so the trade from the Tiger side, and if you're a fan of a small market team or a mid-sized market team that's just not the Dodgers that doesn't spend that kind of money, you're like, how will I ever have a chance of not just getting a rare player like that, but holding on to him for the long haul? Don't feel like I got a chance. Feel like before we lose team control, we got to send him to the Dodgers. And then on the other side of it, if you're talking about just signing talent or signing talent to that level, how can I really compete in free agency if we know that there's just a handful of teams that can sign a handful of players that are of that caliber?
You can't. And from what I hear about the trade so far, it's not like the Tigers even, swept through and got all of the best prospects from the Dodgers, minor league system, right? It's not even like, from what I'm hearing, I'm not keeping up with the Dodgers minor league system like that, but just from what I hear so far about the trade, they could have done better, is what I'm hearing.
Well, the bad part about it, and I'm not going to pretend to know their prospects, but I do know this much because all it takes is just to kind of look this up.
Yeah.
They got so many prospects.
The Dodgers?
Yeah.
They do.
They just, and that's another thing with them when we talk about the embarrassment of riches.
Just even more. They got guys coming up.
Boys got high-end talent. Boys got low-end talent. Boys got what you need. Whatever you need, they got it. They can offer it, and they can go out and get it.
Bunch of trade chips.
So that is the story there. Jordan, you got some news, man, about some MLB trade deadline.
Oh, here we go.
Action happening. What you got for us?
So I'll preface with this. It is not an Astros trade. However, it is basically the next best option from the rental pitching options.
Yeah.
The stronger are getting stronger.
Oh, God.
The Tampa Bay Rays have acquired Freddie Peralta from the New York Mets. That is according to Will Salmon of The Athletic. Now, the return from the Mets has not officially been reported, but Joel Sherman of the New York Post, take that with what you will, says that they will be getting 3 players back.
Yeah, so I was just able, as you were talking, Ken Rosenthal, both of The Athletic and MLB on Fox, is reporting that and I think this is a handful of insiders that are reporting this, the return are 3 guys named Aiden Smith, Emilian Petrie, not really sure if that's any kin to Jalen Petrie, I doubt it, but Aiden Smith, Emilian Petrie, and no way the guy's name is Gary Gill Hill. That's got to be a typo.
It's baseball. That probably
I love
could
it.
be. There is a chance that could actually.
I love
be a
that
thing.
name.
Hey, I was gonna say I like it.
I love it.
Gary Gill Hill. That's his name.
I'm sure. I'll double check, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yo,
that's too much.
You're kidding me. So the Rays just sent 3 guys: Aiden Smith, Emilian Petrie, and Gary Gill Hill to the Mets in exchange for Freddie Peralta. Freddie Peralta, formerly, I believe, of the Milwaukee Brewers, is where he made his fame. Now with the Mets, or more recently with the Mets, but now going to the Tampa Bay Rays, who are leading the American League East and are among the handful of teams that are right there with the Astros to compete for it.
And this shows that the Rays are going for it. They're going
as they should be.
As they should be. They're going all in to try to win this season. That's what that tells me. They went out and made a move to make their team better in their eyes and most people's eyes. So yeah, the Rays are going for it, like you said, as they should.
So I want to hear from both of y'all in the audience. Y'all feel free to chime in on this as well. Like I told y'all before, man, y'all hit up that text line. It's gonna be ghost for a minute. That's basically a note to Sean and Seth for in the morning.
Exactly.
But holla us on the YouTube chat or on the Twitch chat at 95.7 The Fan. What did y'all make of, and forgive me, Chris, for not knowing if y'all talked about this yesterday at all, but I'm curious what y'all made of Jim Crane stepping in there and nixing a trade. Did y'all talk about this?
A little bit, yeah.
Jim Crane steps in there, okay? So it looks like the Minnesota Twins and the Houston Astros were pretty close to the finish line on a trade that would have sent Brian Abreu from Houston to Minnesota and would have brought back Trevor Larnach, which is a left-handed hitting outfielder who's having the best season of his career for the Twins, and they apparently have an embarrassment of riches of left-handed hitting outfilders, which is wild to me.
I was gonna say that's
it's
crazy.
Like, dang, how they got everything that we need over here? Right. but because they have that, they can afford to part ways with one of these guys. Of course. And this was one of the guys that they were going to do that with. Send them to the Astros. It looks like the actual baseball people and decision makers in Minnesota and Houston were ready to do this deal. Yeah. But the money man in Houston, the owner of the team, Jim Crane, steps in and says no. Some might call it meddling. Some might call it looking out for the best interest of the team, feeling like maybe that wasn't a good enough deal for what he wants to give Brian Abreu up for. If he wants to give up Brian Abreu at all, considering that he's been pitching better as of late, he's not the disaster that he was to start the season. I'm curious from both of y'all. What did y'all think about the Astros owner stepping in and sort of playing the trump card here and vetoing this trade?
So initially yesterday when Paul posed this question about this situation, I thought that, okay, if the owner's stepping in and, nixing a trade here, I'm thinking he's looking at something bigger, or there may be something bigger in the pipeline than this move here. And he's going to basically nix this and hold off on it. Maybe they come back to it within the next, 24 hours now. Yeah. Less than 24 hours, maybe not. But looking at it today, I don't know if I still feel the same way, because at the time, now I know Skubal was a long shot to get Skubal here, just because the Astros don't really have the trade chips. Yeah. Right? They don't go out and get. They didn't really have the trade chips to go out and get a Skubal.
Certainly not in comparison to what the Dodgers have.
At least not what we thought, right?
No. I mean, it's not even close, honestly. Yeah. And like they could have done the rental thing, but it would have clearly been a rental.
That's what it would have been, yeah. That's what it would have been. Yeah.
Skubal going to the Dodgers makes it seem like it doesn't necessarily have to be a rental.
I don't think it is.
And even if it was, that they're the team that could afford to rent him.
And just let him, walk after.
Or if they want a lease to own, rent to buy, to you know what I mean? Like
taking it back.
they could do that. I mean, taking it back. I mean, I hadn't had to do that on a couple of options on some things recently. I don't know if you talk about that back too far.
I get it.
You know what I'm saying?
I understand that.
You got to make them pennies work. But I'm just saying, like, this is the Dodgers were perfectly suited to do the Skubal thing.
Oh yeah.
But also, likewise, the Astros were perfectly suited to do this thing, and it Jordan,
feels like it.
I'm curious what you thought about it too, Jordan. Like, did this to you seem like meddling, like the owner doing too much, or does Jim Crane have the type of equity built up as the best owner in Houston pro sports history to kind of like have the trust to do a thing like this? Like, how did you take this in when you saw it?
So I'm gonna go in the middle here.
Okay.
This is standard operating procedure for Jim Crane. This is how he's been basically from day one of buying the franchise. He has been hands-on in almost every single decision that has been made. That's why a lot of the GM choices, or not all the GM choices that he has had for the franchise, have to basically be same wavelength, same everything with him. Because otherwise there's going to be tension, which is why there's been some trades that you've seen, like this one, where it's been no, because obviously it seems like the negotiation happened kind of behind Jim Crane's door.
Yeah.
Door open.
Yeah.
why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Now, there is also kind of another reason for this, right? You look at, and it was kind of mentioned by Chris, there's not a lot of farm talent to really pick from like you've had in the past to then use in trade pieces to go get some guys at the deadline like you've been able to make deals in the past. And Jim Creighton, because of that, is not trying to pull guys off of his major league roster. He even told, I believe, Chandler Rome, the Athletic, a couple of days ago, he's not trying to pull guys off the major league roster.
I get that.
To then trade when you don't have farm talent to then supplement.
Yeah.
If you can't make a trade to then fill back that spot again, especially with all the injuries.
So on the surface of it, it looks like a sensible trade because both teams are trading from positions of strength to address positions of need.
It's a perfect trade in
or
that
weakness.
sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Like the Twins are looking for bullpen help.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
The Astros have one of the better bullpens in the American League. And while the Astros are looking for left-handed outfield production, offensive production, and the Twins have a gluttony of left-handed
apparently
hitting outfielders.
Who would have thought?
So this is like a glove fitting the hand type of thing, right? Like on the surface of it, it seems perfect.
It's almost too perfect.
I will say this though, and this is not really necessarily a defense of Jim Creighton because I don't know what his rationale was, and he's the owner. He gets to decide. It's his team.
Hey.
So there's that. But just as an observer and as somebody that follows the team, I will point out that the flaw of the Astros bullpen, if you could give us one, would be that it didn't have enough reliable right-handers, right? Enough reliable right-handed pitching. And the thing that threw that off was Brian Abreu's struggles, right? When Brian Abreu was borderline unplayable, like he was kind of the main right-handed reliever that they had. Without him, they were relying on, and obviously I think he was injured for a while on top of not being productive. Without him, they were relying on left-handed guys who had either reverse or at least respectable sits, essentially left-handed guys who could get out righties as well. So now that Brian Abreu is playing and pitching well, he is obviously their setup man, but he's one of their few reliable right-handers out of the bullpen. And I could see, just to like justify this logically from a baseball perspective, I could see Jim Creighton saying, hey, I don't want to mess up a good thing, and this bullpen is humming, and I don't want to get rid of one guy that could all of a sudden make the bullpen a bit of a weakness or expose a weakness within the bullpen by getting rid of the one reliable or most reliable right-handed arm that I have.
I get that. I hadn't thought about it from that angle, but let me ask you this. Let's say the Astros had not won 10 out of the last 11. Let's say they just been, 5-6 over the last 11. Do you think he makes that trade?
It's not even that. I think put the wins aside for a second, because I like the point. I think if Brian Abreu doesn't bounce back.
Gotcha. Okay.
And if the Twins are just willing to take a flyer out on Brian Abreu because of what he's done in the past, understanding that he's not pitching well this year, but they still want him, and they'll give you this guy for him, then I don't think he nixes the trade in that case, whether they're winning or losing or whatever the case may be.
That makes sense.
But I think the fact that Brian Abreu has sort of found it.
Bounce back,
Bounce back,
little bit,
found his rhythm, and Brian Abreu at his best is an asset. And if you're a serious baseball team, you should want to have him on your team as long as he's pitching seriously, incredibly, which he is now.
But do you believe he can keep it going because the trade deadline's tomorrow?
Yeah, right.
So you must believe that he can keep that going.
Belief or not, you're banking on it. You're definitely betting on it.
You have to be.
If you don't believe it, you're rolling the dice.
Yeah.
Right? And so you have to roll the dice understanding that, like taking the risk involved, right? Like understanding the risks ahead of time on the front end, I think.
Yeah.
Now,
so that's a part of it.
Now, here's another thing, too. One quick thing before we had to break in a little bit. Now that you're Jim Creighton saying, hey, we're not trading Abreu, he's a pending free agent, like y'all mentioned. Now you have to sign into a deal. Otherwise, this whole thing of him null and voiding the trade is even more pointless.
You know what, though, Joe? I don't know. Could everybody just be going for broke? Like, I know everybody's planning past this season,
right?
And you have to. But are they also planning with in mind that this could be the last season for a while, or that the next season might not start until
on time,
Lord knows when? Yeah. And so, like, does this season, is it valued a little bit more and differently than previous ones because of what's at stake on the back end? You know?
I get that. I don't know if you can do it, though. Only because if some way, somehow, by some stretch of a miracle, they get to January 15th and go, oh, hey, we got a deal in place. We got spring training in 2 weeks. Like, then what? Yeah. Now you're scrambling. Now you're trying to find people. We couldn't get trades done before. Now you haven't had a winter meetings to go get your players. Now you've got 3 weeks to go sign whatever heap of the scrap is left. Yeah. Like you're kind of stuck at that point.
Yeah.
You're then using a 3-week arbitration period to try to get guys when you usually had 2 months.
Yeah.
So it becomes a whole point. But yeah, honestly, with how things are going with the whole salary cap thing, like you said, we may not even have a next season.
Yeah.
So who knows? That's kind of the battle I think that most front offices are having right now, especially with those expiring contracts.
100%. I'm Brandon Scott, rolling along with Chris Partee. That is Jordan Smith behind the glass, holding us down. And we got to get back to Texans training camp. I thought that the defense was the theme of the practice on Saturday. And fortunately for us, we have a former Texans defensive player here in the building. So we'll hear from Seth Payne on the other side of the break right here on 610 Weekends.
But I'm here.
How is C.J. Stroud handling the pressure of contract discussions heading into this season?
North American Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Live from the West Point Lincoln and West Point Lincoln of Sugar Land Studios, it's Sports Radio 6 and Weekends.
It is Sports Radio 610 Weekends. Brandon Scott here with Chris Barty, Jordan Smith holding things down behind the glass. And we also got Seth Payne in the building, man.
Hey,
what
guys.
a treat.
What's up, Seth?
Am I on the right microphone?
You
is
are.
All working? All right.
I can at least hear you through my headphones.
We got you.
So that's good. Normally used to hearing you during the week, Monday through Friday, 6 to 10 a.m. Get the treat of having you here on a Sunday. And before I even knew that you were in the building, Seth, and before I knew that you were going to be on the show, I had actually built up this segment to focus on the defense, since we were out there together yesterday at Texans training camp. And I think anybody that was out there can objectively say that the defense, shocking, I'm a spoiler alert for everybody, it's pretty good.
They were dominant.
It's pretty good. They look better than the offense.
You know, I saw, and Reginald showed me a couple of tweets from after the first couple of periods out there, the first couple team periods, where I got a sense from the people in the stands that we're thinking, wait a second, is this, you guys said that it was a little bit better this year on offense. What's going on? Because the CJ can't get a throw off. It got better in the third, fourth, and fifth periods. But yeah, in the first period, the defensive line was just going off.
Let me ask you this, because I thought, from my vantage point, it looked like the defensive line was dominant. Easy for me to say from the sidelines and easy for me to observe with guys that are out there in shells, not playing in pads. Right. But the get off with Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter, it's everything that we remember it being.
Yeah.
But even the guys on the inside, old reliable Sheldon Rankins, wrecking plays before they're able to develop. Tommy Togiai, a legitimate beast. Caden McDonald, somebody that I'm really, really excited about. I don't know what his role is going to be, but he even sort of looks the part and has got a lot to learn and a lot to develop. We understand that. But what stood out to you? Did you feel like this defensive line was standing out even in shells and in T-shirts and shorts?
I think that, it's looked like this for a couple of years now, so I don't know if it's any different. I think that if there was one guy that I would point to that'd say, like, oh, this kid might take a big step forward this year, it's Will Anderson. So, it's
Will Anderson.
Honestly,
room for improvement.
Two
are you telling
things.
me?
For one, when they were doing one-on-one pass rush the other day, he had a little, Daniil Hunter's kind of. It's not. Sometimes it's a Euro step with Daniil, but sometimes it's this hop and cross chop with his arms where they're actually hopping in the air. And if you're an old school dude, you're like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you intentionally leaving your feet? But like Aaron Donald and these guys all brought that move into more, it's more common now. But Will's working on that and adding to that. And then the other thing we saw yesterday, and I'll say this because the video's out there on social media, so it's not like I'm talking about specific plays that people don't know about, but like there was at least one play out there yesterday where Will Anderson dropped into coverage. So last year where you saw all those charts about how the Texans were the team that disguised the least and did the least funky stuff on defense, they just lined up and played. I think that this year with Reed Blankenship in the secondary especially, they can disguise a little bit more. They don't have to become all of a sudden super exotic like Brian Flores or anything, but I think that they're going to add a few wrinkles because they've got 5 defensive backs back there that can handle disguising coverages, doing some wrinkles, and still playing their responsibilities.
Yeah, I was curious of who you thought would benefit the most from Reed Blankenship being added to the team. Could it just be the defense overall, or is there a specific area of the field?
I think that if you looked at last year, especially when they just had to start rifling through guys at safety, CJ Gardner is gone, then Reed gets injured, and he plays a little bit as a rookie. We had the Kayvon Wallace in there for a little bit.
MJ Stewart also got hurt.
Yeah.
Who's also on the PUP list to start this season.
They weren't able to use Kalen Bullock just as a single high deep center fielder as often, and that's where he's at his best, is when he can rove. And I think with Reed Blankenship now, they can do that more. They've got a guy that they trust. But also because you have Reed Blankenship, they can use Kalen Bullock up near the line of scrimmage at times and use his speed as a blitzer or just in doing some of the disguised coverages. So I think Kalen, who's already, he's only a second-year guy last year, and he didn't play immediately as a rookie.
Right.
So he's still developing on the mental part of things, just really seeing the game the way veteran safeties do. But I think they're really going to be able to utilize his range this year even more than they did last year.
Seth, is there a guy, I'm looking specifically, I guess, at the front seven, is there a guy outside of a Will Anderson or Daniil Hunter that you're looking at coming in week 2 to kind of, I guess, wow you?
I'm really, with the pads coming on, I'm really interested in watching all these linebackers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's that, for that third linebacker spot, like with EJ Speed out, you've got Wade Wood as the rookie. You've got Aiden Fisher, the rookie. You've got Marte Mapu, who I think D'Amico really likes. It's not like they traded a bunch for him, but he might just not have been a scheme fit in New England. But he's a guy he's really tall. If you look at both Woodaz and Marte Mapu, they're both 6'3".
Yeah.
They're both really rangy themselves.
Shot blockers.
Yeah. So they are. Yeah. I kind of look at it like basketball. When they brought in Logan Hall on the defensive line, who's really long.
Yeah.
He's a 6'6" guy.
Wow.
And I think there is a little bit of maybe moving in that direction of, man, if we're going to be in zone, just like a basketball team, let's have some long-armed wings out there that can get into passing lanes and just be disruptive with size.
Is Logan Hall the new Danico Autry, when I say that, I'm talking about being able to line up inside or out, or is there a specific space for Logan Hall that from what you can tell, that's best for him or best for the Texans to utilize him?
I think when Danico Autry first got here, remember he was the big name signing or the big signing at defensive end. And then the Texans signed Daniil Hunter.
Yes.
And I kind of felt bad for Danico Autry because, he got a nice contract.
I was going to say, I didn't. They gave him $10 million a year.
I thought he was going to be a starter. And then, all of a sudden. But I think we thought that he was going to play defensive tackle when he ended playing defensive tackle.
Okay.
I think Logan Hall will play he'll play down inside more than Danico Autry did, but I think that they can use him, especially on rundowns as a defensive end, and he'll be just fine. And he comes out of a 3-4, so kind of like with J.J. Watt, where, look, J.J., I'm not comparing Logan Hall to J.J. Watt,
of course,
but, J.J., as he got older, moved out to be more of an outside player, but could do either, and I think Logan Hall's that type of a player.
Now, Seth, in terms of just, I guess, training camp overall and what's involved in it, from what you see out there, you're out there every year at training camp. How much has it changed for players, just specifically players, since you were out there?
I think the biggest thing really is just I don't mean to sound like a grumpy old man, because I'm not grumpy about it at all. I'm glad that they've scaled back training camp, but I don't see where it's physically grueling. And I kind of there's a part of me, it's like when I see all the families, when the players with their families afterwards, I'm like, hey, guys, you would
have been way too tired to chill with your family after practice.
You would see your family, but it felt a little bit like, oh, yeah, I really need to see my family. I'm like, these guys, you have one practice a day, and every third day is basically a walkthrough, and it's I don't know. It's it doesn't feel like as much of a grueling grind as it used to be, which is the smart way to do it. I think the one thing that's a lot better when I watch it is that, at least on this team, because this is a well-coached football team, I think guys come in, and I would say the younger guys too are just, I think they're more professional. Like they know their crap.
Really?
And there's not as much, because you have more mini camps and you have TAs, all that. They've got everything installed, so by the time you get to training camp, it's not as much of learning the basics as much as just trying to refine the stuff you already have.
So now you said guys are more professional. Kind of explain that a little more. Expound on that.
I think
what you mean by that.
I think because the high school and college programs have gotten so much more sophisticated, and with the training too. It's not just not on the football side of things, but just even in the strength and conditioning and the kind of year-round nature of it. And
okay.
I talked to D'Amico about this last year during training camp, and part of it is just these guys are already literally professionals.
Before they get here.
Yeah, and that's one of the good things about NIL is they kind of get a feel for, okay, who are the guys that can kind of keep the money side over here and then the football side over here and not let it be a distraction.
Yeah.
Can you look, I'll tell you, as far as a distraction factor, you're a rookie in the NFL. the biggest shock to your system is kind of you spend a lot of time alone. Like you're not, because you get an apartment or you get a house and you think you're an adult and everything, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm kind of lonely.
There's nobody around.
Where are my friends?
I don't know that many people.
Where is everybody?
It's a whole lot of sitting around and like, you want to come over and hang out, But like in college, like I'll tell you, it'd be easier to handle $10 million as a rookie in the NFL than $100,000 on a college campus.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And like that's so I think that those guys they get in this talk about this. It's an asset for the evaluation process if you can look and see, all right, which are these guys that can keep their head on their shoulders and stay focused despite having 7 figures in college where you're so immature and you've got all this temptation all around you. And like being the big man on campus at a big time football school, that's a whole lot more adulation from all types of people than you necessarily get, like unless you're one of the bona fide superstars. Like look at like Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel walking around Iowa State. Like those, they are a big deal at Iowa State compared to like what when they're walking around at Target in Houston.
Right. Yeah, it's funny though when you talk about being more prepared going into the pros versus like let's say 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. One thing that's going to stick out with me for a while, maybe until we just get used to college players making as much money as they are, and maybe we're getting to that point now. But last year when Woody Marks was a rookie, it was either on the post-game show or somewhere. It was on our air where he talked about making more money his last year in college at USC
than his rookie year.
Than his rookie year with the Texans.
Which is wild to think about.
But sort of to the point of what we're talking about, that does create a professional mentality or environment of some sort. Like the experience, obviously the NFL is going to be new to him, but the idea of coming into money or entering a business type of atmosphere or environment is not foreign to him because he literally just did that.
Right, you've had to pay taxes and everything. Like all the,
in California,
like all these old heads are telling stories about the first check they got, in the NBA or NFL, and they learn about FICO, and
because nobody taught them that in school. They were playing football and basketball. Apparently,
these guys take one step further because they're independent. Like they're getting that money from NIL. It's not from an employer. So they actually like have to self-withhold and everything. So they've had a real introduction to it. But I think that part of it too, it's just, people, it's like youth sports in general and how seriously people take youth sports today versus like when I grew up, it was like, I can't remember a time when I was a parent out at practice. It was like you dump your kid off and
every
off
parent
they go.
is out there now.
Right. So I think there's just more pressure and scrutiny on those kids from a young age. And they just kind of have a different approach to it. And I'm not saying that they're, better or worse than our generation or anything. It's just they definitely, I think they've had more structure and they approach things a certain way. To generalize, they're still jackasses, but to generalize, I think there's more guys that they're just kind of dialed in.
Yeah. What stood out to you about the offense so far, being at training camp, and what are you looking for when the pads come on? I
think, and this is like I was happy to hear D'Amico just flat out say they want to be in 13 personnel, 3 tight ends. They want to do some fun stuff with the tight ends because they don't want us talking too much about formations and everything. But they drafted a tight end. They signed a tight end in free agency. Brevin Jordan's coming back healthy, and it looks like they're utilizing all of them and want to do a lot of the stuff where those teams like the Rams and the 49ers, they're able to really make the defense uncomfortable by shifting the tight ends and changing the strength of the formation. They're doing all that, but they're doing it without the mental errors. And that's the tough part about anytime you want to do some of the funky and fun stuff, it's that you add more complexity to it. And a lot of times when they tried to do that last year, things just it's like the classic, when there's 8 steps in a process and you get an issue at step number 3, everything else gets screwed up. And I think they're handling that part of it so far really early in camp a lot better. So it'll be fun to see when the officials are out there at practice and when they're in preseason games if that holds up.
Has there been a highlight yet for you that you've seen offensively?
Okay. Well, this is a tough one. This is bittersweet. I think that they've had at least two deep shots to Nico Collins. I think CJ, there was a miscommunication the first time between CJ and Nico, or at least they weren't on the same page. But I think CJ put the ball exactly where he wanted to put it, right down on the sideline between Nico and the sideline. But Nico was looking inside for the ball. I saw this play, yep. And then yesterday, that deep shot on the go route to Nico down the left sideline I think CJ put the ball exactly where he wanted to put it. From our vantage point, at least, we were on the other side of the field. Yeah. But Kamari and Nico were just wrestling the whole way down the field. And I don't know, like, if anybody listening was actually at practice and on that sideline, I was going to ask D'Amico about this afterwards, and I forgot. I wanted to actually clean by Kamari or not. Because, like, Kamari's real good at getting away with just the right amount of physicality, but it looked, from where we were standing, it looked like it was Greco-Roman wrestling. Yeah. Like they were just like fighting each other.
So they was competing out there. They was really competing out there.
But you ever get in a fight with one of your friends, like, and you just like start punching each other in the car? Yeah. That's what it was like. Just like just
like the same punch.
You're still moving down the road and you're punching. Yeah.
I wonder if it would have been enough to draw a penalty on either one, though. Or like if it's a penalty on both, is it a penalty on anybody?
Right. You know? Well, Nico gets the Shaq treatment sometimes. Yeah, that's what happened. And man, if anybody wants to torture themselves, go back and watch the All-22 from the Chiefs playoff game a couple years ago. Ooh. They were just doing whatever they wanted to Nico.
Mugging him,
just grabbing him, dragging him, and the officials were like, "Oh, he's so big."
Yeah, man, that is one thing about being like an abnormal sized person for your position or your sport. Yeah. In Shaq's case, he's just an abnormal sized person, period.
Refs is like, I don't know how to ref this guy.
Yeah.
Right. How do I call calls on this guy?
They're just kind of like shrugging their shoulders at you.
I mean, like Nico might have to become a little bit of a flopper.
Yeah.
You know, sell it a little bit. Yeah. Go all Nowitzki on him.
That's what you got to do sometimes. Yeah. You got to do that.
Nico might be too ethical.
And yes, it's a problem.
He might be too ethical.
That's his biggest weakness.
He
cares too much.
We need to loosen this guy's morals a little bit. I need to talk to that guy next time I see him. Seth, man, appreciate you being here with us, man.
You guys sound great. I was doing a live stream earlier just when you started off, and one of my viewers said that you're killing it.
Well, I appreciate that.
Appreciate you.
Thank you for doing that. That's Seth Payne, co-host of the morning show Payne and Pendergast. Y'all can check them out from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday, right now on Sports Radio 610, but pretty soon on 95.7 The Fan on the FM side. We're really, really excited about that. Appreciate Seth for being here with us.
If you already have the speed dial set, or if you already got the preset on 95.7, you're not going to hear REO Speedwagon. You're going to hear Sean and Seth.
Yeah,
but the channel remains
no
the same.
more Wham and Aerosmith. It's now going to be Seth Payne, Sean Pendergast, In the Loop, The Drive, Area 45, and us on the weekend.
The whole crew. We got everybody.
Everybody. So we're looking forward to that. Coming up next, though, right here on 610 Weekends, we got to do a little bit of a weekend roundup. There were some wacky stories from the weekend. Want to get some reaction to it. We'll do that right here on the other side, 610 Weekends. Don't go anywhere.
Go time.
What kind of impact does D'Amico expect new Texans running back David Montgomery Live from the West Point Lincoln and West Point Lincoln of Sugarland studios, it's Sports Radio 610 Weekends.
B. Scott and Chris Partee here with Jordan Smith on Sports Radio 610 Weekends. 610 Weekends for short, because of course we're going over to 95.7 The Fan pretty soon. That's August 13th to be exact. And at that point we will sort of rebrand, obviously 95.7 The Fan, but on the AM side, and I know there have been questions about this, not everyone is clear on, hey, will I still be able to listen to 610 AM? What's going to happen to my beloved Sports Radio 610? And I'm here to tell you, the only thing that's going to happen to it is we're just going to kind of stop calling it Sports Radio. Yeah. But it'll still be 610. You'll still be able to listen to us. We'll just, on the 610 side, be called 610 The Fan. So you can listen to us on FM, on 95.7 The Fan, or you can listen to us on AM on 610 The Fan. But The Fan, either way,
we got you covered.
And we got you covered. We're glad to do it. Special shout out to Seth Payne for joining us in that last segment. That was a lot of fun. And it's going to influence a little bit more of our future Texans conversation whenever we get back in to Texans training camp. We're actually going to do that at the top of the hour. So stay tuned in about 10, 13 minutes or so. In the 2 o'clock hour, we're going to get into some winners and losers from Texans training camp so far. And I stress, okay, so far, okay, because the boys ain't even put pads on.
It ain't over yet.
All right? It ain't over. It barely started.
They just got started. They
haven't even put their pads on yet, but we have been out there able to take some notes. There's been news as well. So a couple of things to break down from Texans training camp. We'll do that again at the 2 o'clock hour. And again, shout out to Seth Payne for joining us in the previous segment. But I want to do something here, do a little bit of a weekend roundup. I used to do a newsletter for the Houston Chronicle called The Weekend Wrap. It wasn't nearly as dope as what we're about to do here now, though, and is nearly as fun. We got some stories from over the weekend that are dastardly, that are just like shocking in nature, let me just say.
Just say they're a little ratchet.
They're a little ratchet.
Some of them a little ratchet.
Some of them are a little ratchet. I ain't going to lie to you, all right?
I do not remember the last time I heard the word dastardly.
Dastardly. That's what we come to 610 Weekends.
Exactly.
There we go.
That's what we got for you.
You never know what's going to drop around here, man. But Tari Eason, this is actually unfortunate because, man, I'd never want to be in a situation like this. But Tari Eason filed a restraining order on his ex-girlfriend just weeks after signing his extension with the Houston Rockets. And just some of the details from this restraining order, he claims that this ex ruined his clothes, bleached his clothes, ruined them to the tune of about $92,000 worth of clothes, which, man, I don't have $90,000 worth of anything. Maybe everything. Maybe everything that I have might be worth $92,000 if I was able to scrap it all together.
He got it in clothes.
He talking about clothes. Wow. And not only does he have it in clothes, he got enough of it in clothes for it to get ruined and bleached and for him to still be out here to live to tell about it.
And still have other clothes to wear.
And still got hey, I don't think the boy running around here naked. He's still wearing something.
Cash money, homie.
And I bet you it ain't nothing from Target either. I bet you that's probably $92,000 worth as well. But
it's all designer.
But either way, the way the story goes, she bleached his clothes and threatened his life. Now, I was able to react to this a little bit on Friday when I was in with the guys In the Loop. You and I have not had a chance to chop it up, at least on the air. We talked about it a little bit before the show. But your reaction to seeing this, like there's only but so much of a reaction because obviously you don't want this to happen to anybody. But the details in this are just so shocking, and it also colors a little bit what Tari Eason might have had in the back of his mind during that stretch of the season. And there were a couple of stretches there of the season where he wasn't playing his best.
Struggled a little bit.
Had a month there, I think, in March where he was shooting like 20% from the three. He had missed like 20-something threes in a row, went like what felt like weeks without hitting one. In the background, clearly he had his contract on his mind because he was a upcoming free agent. And then also in his personal life, things were not, I would say, ideal.
So, like I said, when you look back now and you think about the early part of this year, which would be, I guess like towards mid-season of the NBA season, February, March, up through January, I believe Tari Eason was shooting around 50% from three. And then after that, he dipped.
Definitely to start the season, man. The first month and a half, 2 months of the season.
He was hot.
He was, I want to say, like the best corner three shooter in basketball and one of the best 3-point shooters in the game, period.
And even into January, I know he was still up there in terms of, it may not have been quite 50%, but it was close.
It was still very solid.
And then, like you said, in March, I believe sometime in February, he began to dip. So maybe this, obviously the contract, right, that's on your mind. Maybe this situation with this girl he was dealing with was part of that. You know, when you got things on your mind like that, it can affect you.
Yeah.
In whatever profession you're in, it can affect your work. It can.
Yeah. This is just, to me, another example of remembering that all these guys are people. Now, there are certain aspects that might not be relatable. Maybe you've never had a crazy ex. Maybe you've never had an ex to threaten your life.
I've been there before.
And most of us have never had $92,000 worth of clothes.
Nah, I ain't been there, but I done had the crazy ex.
Right.
I'd have been there and done that.
So, like, there are parts of this that are relatable. There are parts of it that are not. But I think the part that we can all relate to is like, man, everything ain't always what it seems. And everybody got a story. Even if your job is public. And look, we got a fairly public job, just not to this degree.
Yeah.
But things are just not always what they seem. People can present one way, or you can maybe have tunnel vision on the way you think things should be.
Yeah.
But it might actually be the other way, for all you know.
All I can say, and I can just give this advice, not to just Tari Eason, but any young man out there, when you're high profile like this, leave these ratchet girls alone.
Hey.
Because if she's willing to go this far, she may actually try to make an attempt on something else. You know what I mean? Like,
allegedly.
And allegedly, he was threatened, right? So leave these ratchet girls alone. I get it. You got the word at your feet. I understand that. He's 25 years old, right?
Yeah.
Got the world at his feet, literally. Literally the world at his feet. I get it. Leave the ratchet ones alone.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep saying that. And I'll tell any young man that. I don't care if they got $92,000 worth of clothes or not.
My hope for Tari Eason is that now that he has the security of the long-term contract and is hopefully able to put this former romantic situation behind him,
I'm hoping.
Hopefully there are fewer distractions.
Yes.
And less reason to be pulled in a different direction. And I'm not saying that I know, I'm not trying to like psychoanalyze and pretend like I know exactly what was on his mind, but none of those things could have helped, right?
No, of course not.
Pressing on the contract, dealing with the ex or whatever the situation was at the time. Like, hopefully all of that is behind him and he can go out there next year with the contract and be the best version of himself. Let me ask you this. What you think about this Kyle Shanahan thing out there in the Bay Area? So, first of all, I want to say, glad that it looks like Kyle Shanahan is going to ultimately be okay. Scary crash that is going to have him at the very least limited, broke his nose, broke some ribs. It was bad.
Concussion,
a serious concussion. Yeah. But the story that has emerged from that since then is the media coverage around it. Yeah. And so, audience, allow us to just nerd out a little bit as media professionals.
Just a little bit.
The criticism has been that the media out in your home base and area, in the Bay Area, has played it soft with this. And then we find out that the 911 tape or the 911 call and body cam footage is not going to be made available. Yeah. Do you feel a way about this at all? What do you think about how this thing has been handled by your folks?
Well, I'll tell you this, having grown up there, I'm from San Francisco originally, lived, all over the Bay a little bit there, growing up there for the first, 30 years of my life. I'm not surprised because I started my sports media career there working at our sister station, 95.7 The Game.
Yeah.
And even then, I was a producer, board op, whatever it may be coming up. But even then, and we're going back to early to mid 2010s, right? The media was soft.
Yeah.
And I've actually seen different journalists and media members have their access revoked from the Warriors or the Giants, or the A's aren't there anymore.
Right.
Whatever it may be. For even small criticisms at times.
So this is self-preservation. These are folks trying to protect themselves.
That's exactly what,
from the wrath of the establishment. That's
exactly what it is. And it's been like that for years now. So I am not shocked at all that, one, the media is being scrutinized, but for two, that they aren't really pressing the issue.
Yeah.
I'm not shocked.
Yeah.
Not at all. Even being from there, I'm not shocked.
He's Chris Bartee. I'm Brandon Scott. We got Jordan Smith holding things down behind the glass. That is the weekend roundup. We got a couple of more things in here that we might be able to get to in the final hour of the show. But speaking of the final hour of the show, let's go over some winners and losers from Texans training camp. We'll do that right here next on 610 Weekends.
Reset your presets.
Initialize sequence.
West Point Lincoln and West Point Lincoln of Sugar Land Studios, KILT FM HD2 Houston. On Odyssey Sports Station, the Texans play here. Live from the West Point Lincoln and West Point Lincoln of Sugar Land Studios, it's Sports Radio 610 Weekends.
Let's talk about some winners and losers. Obviously, we're winners. Brandon Scott, Chris Partee, Jordan Smith holding it down here in the West Point Lincoln Studios for 610 Weekends. The audience, of course, that gets to listen. We are winners from the weekend. The losers will be the ones that didn't get the memo, that are for whatever reason not listening to the show right now.
Let them know.
Those are the, like, just on the front end, the obvious winners and losers. But we're talking specifically about Texans training camp. Winners and losers from Texans training camp. And I got a handful of them. I did 3 players in a position group for winners. I did 3 players in a position group for losers. And let me just be clear again. It's early on in training camp. I'm not saying that these folks are outright losers or outright winners. I'm just talking about 4 days in.
What you've seen so far.
What we've seen so far. And with the pads coming on this coming week, right? Like us entering into the real part of training camp and the real part of football. So I'm going to start with a winner here.
Okay.
And to me, one of the clear winners so far of training camp, even though I haven't seen a whole lot from him, it's not like he's had, you had said this earlier in the previous hour when he joined us at 1:20, and y'all can go check that out on the Odyssey app or on the YouTube stream as well if you haven't seen it already, 95.7 The Fan on YouTube. But for me, Jaden Higgins, the wide receiver, second-year wide receiver, and let me tell you why. When we got those earlier in the week, and this is before we actually got out there for training camp, and found out that Jalen Noel would be on the non-football injury list with some kind of finger issue.
Yeah.
And then we'd find out later that it looks like he's probably going to be out for a few weeks, which is, the first few weeks of training camp. And then the next day we hear from Nick Caserio, who clarifies the role that Tank Dell's going to be playing right now or what his schedule is. Because the big news was, hey, even though Jalen Noel's on the non-football injury list, nowhere on any of these lists do we see Tank Dell appear.
That's a great sign.
Which means he's cleared to go, cleared to play. He's going to be out there participating. And so Nick Caserio, I think, felt the need to kind of clarify exactly what that looked like. And I think we have that too, Jordan, if we can. Nick Caserio talking about Tank Dell and like sort of what his role is going to be. But the reason why I have Jaden Higgins as the winner is because this puts the spotlight a little bit more so on him, because for whatever reason it feels like the Iowa State wide receiver that gets the most attention is not the one that was drafted the highest. It was the one with the more unique talent, and that's Jalen Noel. Like, Jaden Higgins is the Nico Collins clone who's not quite as good as Nico Collins. Yeah. So it's almost like it feels like a shoulder shrug toward him, and more so like, hey, man, we need this fast guy, Jalen Noel. We need a slot receiver. We need to see what he's got. Yeah. Well, he ain't out there. And then there's Tank, would be their second best receiver if healthy, and when healthy, he's one of the more popular guys on the team. So we understand why he might get more shine. But I think without either one of those guys really fully participating in team drills, and we did see a little bit of Tank out there these last couple of days, certainly not going to be out there with some of the contact stuff that we'll see with pads. But to me, this is Jaden Higgins' chance to shine, chance to really stand out. And look, his real chance to shine is going to be when the season starts. But I'm talking about as far as training camp, building up that chemistry and trust with C.J. Stroud, which I think is of the utmost importance when we talk about his development. It's just about trusting it, that it's going to be there. He's already a big body target. Oh, yeah. So trusting that it's going to be there, developing that chemistry, I think is paramount to his success. We're going to have an opportunity. They're going to primarily have an opportunity to develop that, and we as observers are going to have an opportunity to watch it. So I'm really intrigued by that, and I think he's a winner of this.
But did it already kind of feel to you like Jaden Higgins was the leader in the clubhouse in terms of the receiver room to step into that number 2 slot and be that consistent number 2 option at wide receiver for CJ Stroud, because that's how I felt all off season that, based on, Tank Dell's situation, we didn't know what was going on with Tank Dell in terms of injury. I guess we didn't know where he would be coming into training camp and preseason, regular season, obviously. And a lot of that is still yet to be seen. And then I just feel like he was farther along, in my opinion, in his development than Jalen Noel.
Yeah.
So how did you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I would agree. And I would just say that a reason why he's a winner is because a lot of that has been both affirmed by the way that people have talked about them, but I also feel like it gets to be highlighted more. Exactly now, what you just described actually gets to take center stage. Like, maybe the case always was that should have been the narrative, that we should have been talking more about Jaden Higgins all along as opposed to focusing on Jalen Noel or hope trafficking, honestly, with Tank Dell until we actually see that come to fruition. Jaden Higgins is the most realistic option to be that guy opposite of Nico Collins. So it could be the case that all along we should have been focused on this guy, but I think now it is more in the spotlight, if that makes sense, because of the situation, because we know that Tank's going to be out there, which is good news, but not out there, which is cautious news or just a cautious approach. We get to key in on Jaden Higgins and that exact development that you're talking about. Yeah. And so I'm excited about it.
I also think with Tank Dell, I think we need to kind of, temper expectations and just let him get out there.
Yeah.
Just let him get out there. Now, if he's what he was once before, that's great. But I think expectations should be tempered after the injuries that he dealt with.
Yeah.
And how bad it was.
So along these same lines, since I got Jaden Higgins as a winner, I got to go ahead and go on the other side of that and have Jalen Noel as a loser so far of training camp. I want to be clear again. I ain't calling Jalen Noel an actual loser. I think he's a really good football player. Seems like a really nice young man. Glad that he's on the team. Can't wait to see him get back out there.
Oh, yeah.
But there's no denying that, and I think you were hitting on this before, like unless you're like a real established type of dude, Nico Collins, Will Anderson Jr., Daniil Hunter, these types of guys.
One of those guys.
Unless you're one of them ones.
Yeah.
You can't really afford, I'm not going to say you can't afford, but it is to your detriment to miss time in training camp.
It definitely is.
Certainly not to your advantage. And so this is a position that I think is somewhat up for grabs. I think Jalen Noel is clearly the leader in the clubhouse, also clearly the most talented and most qualified to step into this role, who's going to be the slot guy. But if he's going to miss a few weeks, that means that a handful of guys are going to have an opportunity to make an impression. Yep. And one of those guys, I don't actually have him as one of my winners, but he could be I would say in addition to, because of this, a camp crush for sure, the rookie Lewis Bond.
Ooh, okay.
I've seen him. I saw him out there yesterday make a contested catch in the slot.
That's what you want to see.
And that's true to his scouting profile.
Yeah.
Not a burner per se, the way that Jalen Noel is, but a precise route runner with sure hands. And sure enough, that's what I saw from him yesterday. And I've got Jalen Noel being a loser in this because I think guys like Lewis Bond and perhaps others are going to have an opportunity to make that impression and take a bid for potentially being that guy. I don't think that means that Jalen Noel is it like in jeopardy of not having a spot on the team?
No.
But could another guy have a role? Could another guy play his way into a role because of it?
Cut into his time.
Yes,
on the field.
I think that could be the case.
I get exactly what you're saying, and when you talk about that, you talk about now. Obviously, you can't teach speed, right? You either got that type of blazing speed or you don't. But when you have a receiver that runs really great routes and also is sure-handed as a receiver, as a catcher, sometimes that can make up for not having that type of speed that a Jalen Noel or even a Tank Dell might have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You mentioned the rookie receiver there, being sure-handed and being a really good route runner. Sometimes that will make up for you not having that, 4.3 speed.
Yeah, 100%. You mentioned Tank Dell. We heard from Nick Caserio. I feel like this is worth playing again. Some of you guys might have heard it during the week, but a lot of people got questions about Tank Dell, very curious about Tank and where he's at. Nick Caserio, I thought this was a big piece of news, or at least him getting ahead of a highly sought after news item, which is Tank Dell's status out there at training camp. He sought to clarify early on in training camp, actually before we actually got to lay our eyes on them. This was Nick Caserio saying on what to expect from Tank Dell.
Says a lot about him, honestly. The mental strain that he endured was probably as much as the physical strain that he went through relative to the injury. So that level of mental toughness to, essentially have all taken away from you for a full season, but to continue to push and put yourself in a position where you have opportunity says a lot about who he is as a human being, and we felt that way when we drafted him. This is a really special human being and a special kid. He's working himself into position physically where he should be able to go out there and do some things on the football field. So, really a credit to him and a credit to our training staff and medical staff that he's at least in this position to have an opportunity to potentially help our football team.
I cannot stress enough how important it is for the other receivers on this team to make an impression during this time.
Yeah.
When Tank Dell is not fully in the mix, he's out there.
Yeah.
He's catching balls, he's running around and everything.
He's working his way back still.
Working his way kind of on his own plan, as has been described to us. But no Jalen Noel out there, Tank Dell not fully participating. I think it's important for the wide receivers that are not those guys, and that are obviously not Nico or Jaden Higgins, to be trying to make an impression, because
step up.
There are a last couple of spots, right? Like I think we know who the locks more than likely are. There, of course, Nico Collins, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel. I feel like Xavier Hutchinson is probably going to make the team, but even he, I think at this point, is not a lock. I feel closer to, and I didn't feel this way during the summer, but I feel this way now, that Tank Dell is going to be on the team one way or another. Who are going to be those last couple of receivers is a big question.
And that's the question right there. And like you said, with two guys who we probably everyone feels are pretty much sure things, Jalen Noel for sure. He's going to be there. I've always felt like Tank Dell is going to be there. They really like Tank Dell. They're going to give him, I believe.
Everyone does.
I believe he's going to get every opportunity to come back and, make a full comeback with this team. I don't see him going anywhere, anytime soon. And by that, I mean, in training camp. I don't think he'll be out of the door, anything like that. I think he's going to come back and make this team now. How much playing time he gets, that's yet to be seen. But I think he'll be on this team. But for these young receivers that don't have guaranteed spots, this is your time. Training camp is your time to step up. And then obviously we get into the preseason, but training camp is your time to turn heads, right? That's the time.
That being said, and I hate to go back-to-back losers as I do this winners and losers thing, but I put here fringe wide receivers. That's another one of my losers.
That's what we're talking about.
For everything that we just laid out, and we don't have to rehash it because we just laid it out. Yeah. But a reason why I have fringe wide receivers on here as a loser is because they do have this opportunity, and they do need to step up the way we just described. And yesterday out there at training camp, saw a handful of drops that just can't be.
You can't have that.
They're out there dropping passes, man, and they are the guys that can't afford. Like Nico can afford to have a drop ball or run the wrong route
every now and then.
Now and then, and it would be weird to see it honestly because he's so damn good.
He don't drop many passes.
The rest of these guys can't drop no passes.
No, especially the fringe guys you're talking about.
Yeah, like we're looking at you, Josh Kelly, not to
no shade, but we're just calling it what it is. We just calling it what it is.
To call you out too much, but like Josh Kelly is one of those guys who has to catch every ball that comes his way.
You can't drop
Has
nothing.
to run every route correctly and precise that he is tasked with running.
Yeah.
Fringe wide receivers on this roster right now trying to make the 53-man. Losers to me because they did not go out there and make the most of their opportunity, at least yesterday. We'll see what they do going forward.
And again, when you got some of those guys that are pretty much guaranteed to make the team not there in practice right now, you're getting more reps.
Yeah.
You cannot go out there and say have 3 drops in a practice.
Right.
Yeah, 3 drops is too much in a practice.
Yes.
That's way too much.
Way too much.
Way too many drops.
Way too much. All right, so let's get back on the positive side for some winners. Can I shout out the tight ends?
Shout them out.
And we had Seth Payne in here earlier.
Yeah.
I think you were asking him about one of the questions we asked him. He starts going off on the tight ends, and that's what he's really intrigued to watch, especially when the pass come on. Things that stand out offensively, something that we know that this Texans team wants to do is utilize tight ends more often and in a more diverse way.
I love that. I love hearing that.
And you look at their tight end depth chart, and I'm like, man, I don't know what the 53-man is going to look like, but can they keep all of these cats? Can they keep all four of these guys? I would love it if they could. I'm not sure if they can, but I would love it if they could, because I could see a role for all of them, and that includes the one that I haven't actually seen play in the NFL yet, and that's the rookie Marlon Klein.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they're not going to have the rookie on this team, right? They went out of their way to draft this guy pretty high. He's going to be on the team.
You would think there's a spot for him.
I think that there's a spot for him. I also feel like there should be a spot for a healthy Brevin Jordan.
Yes, that's who I was looking at.
He's going to be a healthy Brevin Jordan, right?
That's been a little bit of an issue, though, hasn't it?
It has.
So we're hoping, obviously, I think everyone wants to see more of Brevin Jordan on the field for the Texans in, possibly many different roles.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like they want to use the tight ends, multiple tight ends at once on the field in different roles.
Yeah.
But you got to be healthy to be out there.
Yeah.
Right?
Seth's talking about how they want to run 3 tight end sets.
I love a big jumbo set, as they used to call it back in the day.
How cool would it be, Chris, to go from, and everybody from last year remembers this, or everybody remembers this from last year, of how instead of having a tight end on the field, they throw out there that 6th offensive lineman, that extra offensive lineman to block for him, especially in the run game. And it was like most teams that do that, they do that to like punctuate, to like, because they're already trying to bring the brute force, and this is just to add it a little bit more.
Yeah,
the Texans were doing it as a survival tactic, like out of necessity.
It's like a last resort.
Yeah, because they
so to speak.
Well, and it was because they didn't have like a brutal punishing offensive line.
Yeah.
And they didn't have no tight end depth either because of the injuries.
Yeah.
And so absent of a mauling offensive line and any kind of tight end depth, we got to go throw in an extra offensive lineman out there. How cool would it be to go from extra offensive linemen out of necessity as a survival tactic to 3 tight end sets?
Ooh.
It's like, it's almost like a night and day difference. So shout out to the tight ends. I'm going to make them a winner too. Since I went back-to-back losers before, I'm going to go back-to-back winners again.
Let's do some
or
winners
back-to-back
again.
winners this time. I'm going to go ahead and go Keelan Rutledge, man. And this one might surprise a few people, because I think it's surprising some folks to see or to learn or realize that Jake Andrews still has a chance of being the starting center on this team. Like, Keelan Rutledge has not just like immediately supplanted Jake Andrews for that starting spot at center.
It's still early.
But as we talked about before, they're cross-training.
Yeah.
We've seen him play pretty much all of these interior offensive line positions. And look, snapping and doing the center things is going to be an adjustment, something he's going to have to develop at. But the part he don't need too much coaching on is that nasty, take your man to the ground, like just dominate the guy on the other side.
That dog, as they call it. He got that dog in him.
He got that dog.
You either got that or you don't.
Do the X-ray on Keelan Rutledge's chest. And I don't know how much heart and everything, but you know what you're going to see? A dog.
You got that dog in him.
Stone face dog in him.
And that's what you want in your offensive lineman.
Yes.
You want your offensive lineman to just have that get down, get dirty dog in them.
100%. So those are some of your winners and losers. We can pick this up actually on the other side, but what I want to do is open up the phone lines. We've had plenty of chances to give y'all our thoughts on the Astros, on Texans training camp. Of course, the Astros with the division lead playing right now, and the day before the MLB trade deadline. So if y'all got thoughts, y'all bring them to the forefront here. We got George Smith doing his thing behind the glass. Call us up, 713-572-4610 is the number to get in. We're going to open up the phone lines, and we'll get to your calls next right here on 610 Weekends.
Tell him all the time he's a big-time playmaker.
Coach D'Amico shared his thoughts after day 1 of Texans training camp. Radio 610 Weekends.
It is Sports Radio 610 Weekends. Brandon Scott here with Chris Partee and Jordan holding it down.
Yeah.
Behind the glass, doing our thing. And it's finally time for us to open it up to the people. We let y'all know we got the phone lines open. We don't do it enough. Don't do it often or as often as back in the day, opening up the phone lines. So make sure y'all get involved with this opportunity, 713-572-4610. And we've got Joe on the north side that I'm assuming wants to weigh in on the Texans, but it could be Astros as well. But let's hear from Joe. What you got, Joe?
What's going on, man? Appreciate y'all taking my call. How y'all doing on this Sunday, man?
We good,
Doing
Joe.
well, man. Appreciate you. What you got?
Thanks for calling in, Joe.
Man, yeah, man, listen, I just want to say, man, I'm glad CJ cut his hair. Listen, this is a defining. Let me tell you something. You don't get a generational defense like we got in a long time. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Just seeing what those guys did last year, man, we should have been in the Super Bowl, man. I'm just shooting the Texans horn, you know what I'm saying, like that. I'm a fan, you know, I was an Oilers fan, too. My dad worked on the Astrodome back when I was a little kid. I'm 48 years old.
All right.
Yeah, but I'm just like, man, come on, man. We're going to have to come on and do something. You know what I mean? Like, this is a defining. And CJ, you come on with it, man. I've been seeing you, man. I saw you walking town one day, man. You were walking like a little kid coming to get something, and everybody, they were walking in the training camp. Man, come on, player. We need you this year, man. I still believe in you, man.
Hey,
but
Joe, let me ask you this real quick. So, what I'm getting from you is it's Super Bowl or bust this year. That's what it feels like where you're at.
Man, listen, man, you got me choked up. Listen, that's exactly what it is.
Okay.
Man, real talk, man. And like I say, we're going to be good. D'Amico doing this thing, you know what I'm saying, chopping it up. But this is the year. This is CJ's defining year this year, man. Let's show what you can do, man. They tried to upgrade the running game, offensive line with you, man. Let's see what you can do, man. I still believe in you, man, but I'm glad you cut your hair.
So help me understand, though, because, like, you say you're 40, I can appreciate that. A lot of people feel like, man, if you're going to be taken seriously, if you want to have that business approach, and you're talking to a guy that got long hair, but I don't, for a second, pretend like people should take me seriously. Nobody should except my children. But for you, from a business standpoint, you feel like for him cutting his hair showed maybe a little bit more seriousness, a little bit more business minded. I mean, what is the significance of the haircut to you from your standpoint?
Well, let me tell you, I had braids too, man. I used to have braids and all that, man. I just went to the Pro Hawk or whatever, like But my thing is, like I said, important. I think it was just like center. CJ, I'm just gonna be honest with you, Scott, man. He was just doing too much early on, man. You had that breakout rookie year, man. You were just doing a lot of things, man. I think you should have been more focused. I mean, sometimes it breeds contempt, but he was doing a great job. You know what I mean? But I'm not just gonna focus on that. I mean, I got people got hair. My son got a lot of hair. My thing is, man, this is Super Bowl, but CJ, it's time for you to go and put it up. I'm just being real with y'all, man. 100. You know,
we
it's
love
time
that.
for you to go. Yeah, that part. And I'm gonna hang up and let y'all chime in. But man, I appreciate y'all taking my call, brother.
Hey, Joe, I appreciate you. That's Joe from the north side.
Thank you, Joe. We love it.
Chiming in on the 610 Weekends. Can't help but to respect it. And I will say this, too. And I've made this point before, but it's so fascinating with the C.J. Stroud discussion. And we can sit here for a second with this. C.J., man, I'm not going to even just say that it's recency bias, even though that's what it is. But it's wild to think when you look at somebody's career, and it's definitely a what have you done for me lately type of industry. Like not just football, but really all of the sports.
Yeah.
But in this particular case, been saying this, if you flip-flop C.J. Stroud's first year and his third year, leave that second year in the middle, we talking about him totally different.
Completely different.
He's got that contract.
I was going to say, does he have a contract already? He does have a contract already.
Cha-ching immediately.
Yeah.
He's on 60 plus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's got the contract. And even if we flip the hair thing, if he came into the league with a haircut and decided to grow it out, and
no one would have anything to say.
And then this year his hair is longer than we've ever seen it.
No one would say
But he's
anything.
coming off what was actually his rookie year, but if we turned it into his third year, and if that was the season, and if that was the career trajectory that we were talking about,
no issues.
Man, we would feel so differently about dude and talk so differently about dude. So it is like the importance of like honestly the difference of what a year can make, well, like what a year can do to you and how you're viewed, and the what have you done for me lately nature of sports. It's just fascinating to think about. If you flip flop 1 and 3,
I never thought about it like that, but you are absolutely correct.
Oh man, it's night and day.
Absolutely,
it's night and day. What did you think about? And you asked him this question.
Yeah.
So what did you think about both of y'all? I ask you. What do you think about it, Super Bowl or bust? Do y'all feel like it should be that way? Is that a fair analysis of CJ or a fair approach to CJ going into this year, given the fact that he was as successful as he was his rookie year, given the fact that the Texans do seem to have hit their head on that glass ceiling and have never been out of the divisional round?
Yeah.
They keep getting there, but they can't get past it. It's hard for me to be like Super Bowl or bust, and you ain't even made it to the game before the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But I'm not mad at Joe. Like, I can feel that energy and respect that energy. What did y'all think about him saying that?
I feel like Joe, along with most other people, are kind of looking at this defense, right? And Joe talked about it to open his call. This generational defense, you don't get a defense like this. Most franchises don't get a defense like this that's this good or great all the time. And you have to take advantage of it when you have that defense in-house.
Yeah.
So I get what he's saying about CJ, this being the basically almost like a make or break year for CJ. Like, he has to produce. He has to. Now, I don't think that means necessarily Super Bowl or bust, but I do think you got to get to the AFC title game. I think with this defense, if CJ, or just not just CJ, but the offense in general, the offense improves, be an average offense.
Yeah.
Be a little bit above average. This team should be able to advance. Now, obviously, matchups make everything. We get that. But I can see them, and they should be advancing to at least the AFC title game. At least the AFC title game.
What do you think?
That's where I'm at. It's not when it's the Super Bowl or get out of town.
No.
I feel like that's a little much for the fact that we still hadn't gotten to the divisional round yet.
Or past the divisional round.
Yeah, we gotta past the divisional round. We gotta get to that point. Like you're saying, Chris, get to the AFC title game. For me, that's the win of the season. That's the win of my fandom. Get at least to the title game. Everything else from there is just extra gold in the pot.
Because think about it, had they reached the AFC title game last year, they probably beat Denver with the backup quarterback, and they are in the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Right or wrong?
We were all dreaming it that week. We were all dreaming it.
Right or wrong?
Well, that's what the sore spot is. I mean, let's just address the elephant in the room.
Right.
That's it.
That's the sticking point and the reason why. Because it's not like it was just any old playoff poor performance.
No.
Right? It wasn't just any old laying of the egg in the playoffs. It was, I say it all the time, the opportunity cost that went with it. Mm-hmm. And the defense they had to accompany what was going on last year and the defense that they're going to have this year, right? And so all of this really comes down to, like, CJ is his own thing, but when you bring it all together, we're talking about the opportunity cost of what if you don't hold up your end of the bargain with a Super Bowl caliber defense? We were asking the question, I think, throughout the season, and by the time we got to the end of it, we felt like we had our answer. But is this a Super Bowl caliber defense? We were doing that in the midst of that winning streak, and then they just kept on winning games, and the defense just kept on.
But having dominant performances, they were dominating. Not just playing well, they were dominating
100%.
Everybody.
Straight up.
Yeah.
And so by the end of it, we had felt like we had asked and answered the question.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a Super Bowl caliber defense.
Yeah.
We feel that way again going into the 2026 season to the point to where we don't even have to ask the question anymore.
No.
We come in with the confidence, arrogance, whatever you want to call it, of knowing Houston has a Super Bowl caliber defense. And so now it's looking to CJ Stroud, looking to the offensive line, looking to that group of weapons, looking at Nick Caserio, big picture of like, hey, did you do your job in surrounding this team and surrounding C.J. Stroud with the adequate weapons to make this thing happen? Looking at Nick Caley as a second-year offensive coordinator and play caller. Hey, is it going to look a little bit better? If it was elementary last year, we needed to be at least middle school if it's not going to be outright.
I think it'd be straight up varsity.
Hey, look, I mean, it's
got to be middle school 18.
It's got to be 18. You know what I mean?
The leagues.
Progress is what I'm talking about.
Yes.
I'll take Ivy League. I'll take SEC. You know, I'll take whatever.
Give us college level.
You know what I'm saying? Whatever the comparison is, just not elementary again.
No.
So we're looking around at all of that, and I think all of those pieces matter when we talk about this overall discussion about the Texans and Super Bowl or bust. Like, I don't think it's actually Super Bowl or bust, but it does feel like this is just as good of an opportunity as any. Similar to how last year felt by the time we got to the end of it, that was just as good of an opportunity as any that the Texans have had to actually go to and win said Super Bowl.
See, and you kind of talk about sore spots. Another one for me, and this is previous history. This is the original playoff Texans, the 2011 postseason. I still got that sore spot for the muff punt from Jacoby Jones.
Yeah, RP Jacoby. Yeah, man.
You think about it like this: he doesn't muff that, we win that game. We're in the divisional round in our first playoff run ever.
Yeah. And then also, we talked so much and have talked so much about CJ and the offense. But whose name haven't we mentioned today? Nick Caley. There's pressure on him, too, to make sure that this offense is in the position and his players are capable and ready to take that next step and develop and move forward and take a little bit of the slack off of because the defense carried everything for the most part last year.
Yeah.
They did.
So I'm glad you mentioned Caley because he is a part of the two-part answer of where the explosive play is going to come from. It's a question I know at least that I've been asking all offseason, and I feel like some version of this question, everybody who cares about or follows or covers the team has asked a similar question. Where will the explosive plays come from, particularly outside of Nico Collins? And we're looking around trying to see both two things. Who are the explosive players, and is the play caller, the second-year play caller, suited to call explosive plays? Like, what are you going to need more of? And I think the answer is you're going to need enough of a combination of both things, explosive players and a guy who can scheme up explosive plays. And I think that's something he's been working on in the offseason. One of his goals is like figuring out who does what well and the best. And I think he's hoping to have two explosive players that would have been on the team last year but weren't because of injury. Tank Dell and Brevin Jordan could be like part of the equation here. I'm curious to see like if he's got Tank Dell plays or if there are just plays that he likes that he wants to pluck Tank Dell into. Like, and maybe that's the same thing. But curious to see what that looks like. But Nick Caley, on top of just like the roster, you could actually make this a two-part Nick answer. Nick Caserio with the personnel and Nick Caley with the scheming and the play calling.
But I mean, really, and this is a question that, many of us, you probably asked it too here at the station sometime over the summer, over the off season, is who is that second bona fide playmaker? Not just, big play, but just the second overall bona fide consistent playmaker on this team. Obviously, it's Nico Collins. And I'm not just saying receivers.
Right.
Could it be David Montgomery?
Could it be Woody Marks?
Dalton Schultz? Like, who is going to be that second? We know Nico. He's going to make plays consistently every game. We know that. Who's going to be the second guy that CJ and the offense, Nick Caley, can depend on week in, week out to consistently come up with big plays, big third downs, big touchdowns, red zone, whatever it may be? Who's that second guy? I don't think there's a bona fide guy right now, a second guy.
A guy, and we did winners and losers in the previous segment, a guy that was mentioned, and be transparent and fair and clear about this. He was mentioned because he was asked about him. So let me not pretend like D'Amico Ryans just brought his name up out of thin air. But he talks about Marlon Klein because he was asked about him, the rookie tight end out of Michigan, and he called him a matchup problem inside. That's the defensive-minded and defensive-oriented head coach pointing this out. But he points out Marlon Klein is somebody who is a matchup issue or a matchup problem for the opposing defense, and that's just somebody that was not available to them last year. He's a rookie this year. So might he factor into this explosive play conversation? Jalen Noel, I see somebody right now on our YouTube chat mentioning him. Of course, he's a little bit out of sight, out of mind right now.
A little banged up right now.
But what does his progression, improvement, development look like from year 1 to year 2, as we were talking about with Jaden Higgins? It's a relevant question for both guys because, like, they were productive for them last year. Jaden Higgins had 6 touchdowns. Yeah. Jalen Noel had his moments both in the kicking game and as a receiver.
Yep.
But if they can make some, like, I'll even call them incremental or marginal improvements and development in their game.
Oh, yeah, they should.
That's going to be significant, I think, for this offense on top of the improvement that hopefully everybody else makes. So looking forward to seeing how that looks, man. We appreciate Joe from the North Side. We thought we was going to hear from more of y'all. We appreciate Joe from the North Side getting involved in 610 Weekends, and we're going to keep it rolling. We got one more segment left of the day, so we'll go back to the MLB trade deadline. Now that the Astros are in this spot, what should they do now? Brandon Scott, Chris Barty, Jordan Smith doing the thing right here, 610 Weekends. Don't go anywhere.
How is C.J. Stroud handling the pressure of contract decisions?
SportsRadio.com.
Live from the West Point Lincoln and West Point Lincoln of Sugar Land studios, it's Sports Radio 610 Weekends.
It is Sports Radio 610 Weekends, rolling along for a final segment. And the Astros, all right, we are just a day ahead of the trade deadline, but the Astros right now in the top of the six are leading the Rangers 3-2. They are looking to take the series sweep. Of course, as y'all know, they won 5-4 yesterday. They've been holding it down. And look, we talked about this at the beginning of the show. For the first time in nearly 4 months, they are 2 games above 500. So literally it's been 4 months since the Astros been this good. It's been that long. 2 games above 500. Entered today, a game and a half in the lead in the American League West. We got Reg Atatula here in the building with us as well to kind of weigh in on this. This is a really fun time to weigh in and think about it. Like, the Astros are in the best stretch, I think the best stretch of their season so far, which begs the question with the trade deadline now just a day away. And I told the people, don't let Tarek Skubal going to the Dodgers discourage you. Don't let that yuck your yum and ruin the vibes of the season and what the Astros got going on. I don't care about playing for second place at this point. We're focusing on our own race and our own journey. What you feel like the Astros should do at this point? We know what their needs are. Got pitching, got outfield, offensive production, preferably a left-handed bat. These are the things that they talked about wanting. Of course, Jim Crane just recently vetoed a trade that would have brought them potentially that. But from where y'all sit, Brandon Scott, Chris Partee, Reginald Atatula in here for this final segment. Curious what y'all are thinking that this team needs.
Go ahead, Rich.
I mean, I pinball back and forth because it's some of what would I like to see them, what do they need, and what can they actually afford? That's the thing. The imagery that I continue to have is you getting handed a laundry list of things that you need to get from the store, and then they're like, here's a 5, bring me back my change. That's what it feels like.
It's like in Friday when Smokey Mama sent him to go get cigarettes.
There you go.
Exactly. And she say, make it enough.
Make it enough.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like going into this trade deadline. Now, apparently, maybe I had too lofty of expectations of what the sellers market would look like. Apparently, because I guess the competition, the folks that are really competing for the World Series, at least in our minds, they wasn't really willing to go too far. If you look at the compensation that the Dodgers actually have to give up to acquire Tarek Skubal, it's a good package. Don't get me wrong, but it's not as much as you might have imagined. So maybe there's more things that are actually on the table at the trade, when you're trying to acquire talent. I just keep looking at it and I go, I don't know that you're able to get that much. I'm honestly wondering if they could even still manage to get a reliever that you like and an left-handed bat in the outfielder, or just an outfielder in general that can give you some production. I think you give me one of those and I'd be happy, especially looking at the way that the Astros have seemingly seen some things come together and your starting pitching has actually been pitching,
Chris, doesn't it feel like they're probably going to have to settle for one of those things? Like, instead of getting all of it, it just doesn't feel like they can afford everything that they need.
It's probably going to be a settle on. Okay, this is the best deal we got going right now. But you look, we talked about it earlier with Jim Crane passing on the deal with Minnesota.
Yeah, I want to get Reg's thoughts on that too, though. After you finish,
for a left-handed outfield hitter.
Yeah,
and that's what we know I'm going to say Texans, but the Astros need right now. And Jim Crane passed on it for whatever reason. Whatever his reason was, we don't know his reasoning right now. But whatever his reason was, he stepped in and said, nah, that's not good enough, or I just don't want to do that for some reason.
Yeah. So, Reg, I was in with you guys, and in case y'all don't know, this is Reginald Atatula from In the Loop.
Exactly.
10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
What's happening, fellas?
Y'all can check them out right now, Sports Radio 610, soon to be 95.7 The Fan. We'll still be able to check us out on what will be 610 The Fan. But I do a segment with y'all from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m., which is also known as noon, on Fridays. And I don't think this story had come out yet. This story, I think, came out on Saturday.
Yeah.
So we didn't get to talk about it the last time we were on a microphone at the same time. But Jim Crane steps in, and they're going to make this move, right? They're going to make this move to send Brian Abreu to the Minnesota Twins and bring back Trevor Larnach to the Houston Astros from the Twins, okay? So left-handed outfielder having the best season of his career so far. for a reliever. Both teams would be trading from positions of strength to address positions of need and or weakness, right? To my understanding, the Twins are looking for bullpen help, even where I guess especially since this deal did not go through for Brian Abreu, and we've already laid out what the Astros need. What was your reaction when you saw this? I'm sure you saw this yesterday. When you found out that Jim Crane stepped in, is this meddling or is this the best owner in Houston pro sports doing the thing that he's built up the equity to do? Like, how did you sort of take this in?
I'm going to be biased here. I'll start there. If there's one thing that annoys me, it is wealthy thrift.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it is wealthy thrift.
Do you think that's what this was, though?
How could I not?
Yeah.
Brian Abreu is about to be a free agent.
Yeah.
Now, I do think that I don't want to be too unfair to Jim Crane here. I do think that you can look up and see that, or you could kind of reverse engineer a thought process that says we don't have that many arms that we trust, and Brian Abreu does look like he's getting right. But you're not paying Brian Abreu by the end of the season. He feels like one of the pieces that maybe you could use to get something, especially somebody that is doing some, in Larnach, that is actually a good outfield bat that you need, as you mentioned, left-handed, and you would have another year of arbitration on top of that. But then I look at it and I go, he's making $4 million and some this year, and then whatever that arbitration looks like, as you mentioned, one of the best years of his career is coming up. It's hard for me to not look at that and go, he went, ooh, do I want to spend that money, and what does that be on the tax or the the competitive balance tax? And knowing Jim Crane and the way his MO works, I got to be honest, that's what I'm looking at, and I'm wondering if that's what he's doing, which again brings me to the idea of, you say you never want to not be in competition. This feels like it's something that gives you an opportunity to compete. What gives?
Yeah, it feels like that, like even that statement of never wanting to be out of the mix comes with a clear and obvious caveat, like just not at the risk of going backwards business wise, right? Of doing the wrong business thing or spending more money than I feel like is necessary. So it's like a yeah, but it's like, yeah, I want to win, but and it's like that but in there is a little bit. It makes you a little bit uncomfortable in terms of like, hey, are we really going all in to be the contender that we want to be? But this was my thing, and I presented this to Chris earlier. I'll just throw this out there in these last few minutes of the show to the audience. I wondered if it was more of less of a long-term view or like a financial view and more of a like what the team has. And this also makes me concerned about what they could give up, because Brian Abreu is one of their few dependable right-handed bullpen arms.
Yeah.
And the bullpen had become noticeably left-hand dependent, sort of unnaturally, though, because Brian Abreu was either injured or ineffective. He is neither now.
Yeah.
He's both healthy and pitching well now. And so is Jim Crane, and for Jim Crane to be the one to step in and say this and not the actual baseball people to come in and say this, but it's Jim Crane saying, I don't want to mess up a clear and obvious good thing that we have going, and let's be clear about it. The bullpen is a big reason why the Astros are in the position that they're in right now. It's one of the best in baseball. Is Jim Crane saying, I don't want to mess up this good thing and not have this reliable right-handed bullpen option and obviously our setup man and Brian Abreu
moving forward,
just to address this thing. And is that the right calculation? Because I could see it and I could understand it, because they did get to a point where they were overly relying on left-handed relievers with either reverse or at least decent splits, right?
Yeah.
And getting lefties who could get righties out. Is he not as comfortable with that idea and abandoning Brian Abreu right when he's pitching well, is what I'm curious about.
I think also one thing I'd like to say, because I don't think that you guys have quoted Donald Rumsfeld yet on your program, so I wanted to make sure we got that in before the end.
Be the first.
There are known knowns and there are known unknowns. And then there are unknown unknowns, things that you don't know that you don't know. I see where you're at. But like, I do wonder within this, are there things that we don't know that happen within this veto? Because you might be able to see a circumstance where, okay, it's not just Abreu for Larnach. Is it a possibility that there was more capital that they would have had to given up?
Possibly.
And maybe he goes, that's a bridge too far even for us to contend.
You know what I also thought about too, just like the human aspect of this. I'm looking at Dana Brown, who's in his
contract year,
lame duck contract year. probably won't be back. And I could be speaking too soon, but not having a contract yet makes me think probably won't be back. And here he is trying to make a trade deadline move, call himself trying to make the team better, but operates at the behest of the owner.
Yeah.
Right. Can only do as much or as little or just within the confines of what the owners say. Here's a trade that him and his baseball counterparts for another team have thought up and think is a good idea. And here come the money man saying, nah, we're not going to do that.
And you know what? Maybe we're all overthinking all this. Maybe it's as simple as that. That Dana Brown is in that contract year. And like I said, the money man stepping in. And in the back of his mind is like, you're not going to be here next year anyway.
Yeah.
No, almost regardless of what happens. Right?
It made me think like,
maybe it is as simple as that.
Other than cashing my check, what am I here for now? What am I doing here now anyway if I can't make a basic trade? But hey, such is life. This has been 6-10 weekends. It's been really, really fun. The Astros, by the way, up 3-2.
There you go.
In the bottom of the 6th.
Quick thing right quick. 30-second thoughts for y'all before we head out. The Astros, according to Bob Nightingale, have started to kind of have some whispers in the Robbie Ray talks from the Giants because they missed out on Skubal.
Now that is just, now we're just talking desperation.
But you think about it like this, is that maybe an extra factor as to why a Abreu deal didn't happen? Maybe they want to use him in a Robbie Ray deal.
I would not like that. I would rather
have an outfielder.
I'd rather Trevor.
Right.
Bring me Trevor over Robbie.
Right.
Robbie ain't been good in about 4 or 5 years. So I'm good on that.
3 ERA this year.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing to sneeze at.
I guess. And you know what?
It doesn't move you.
And to be honest, we don't know who their 5th starter is. Just to be fair enough about it, they did have to put Tatsuya Imai in the bullpen. So that is interesting, something to ponder on. The trade deadline is tomorrow. Make sure you check out Payne and Pendergast from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. And then my guy Reginald Atatula, John Lopez, Figgy Fig from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Of course, the drive after that, Area 45 after that. This has been 610 Weekends. I am Brandon Scott. That is Chris Partee. That is Jordan Smith behind the glass. Thanks to Seth Payne and Reginald Atatula for joining us. Thank you, the audience, for being here. We out.
This is a really good team.
What kind of impact does D'Amico expect new Texans running back David Montgomery to make this season?
We know it's no secret that